Scarabs, the weight of this one, I cannot wait. I hesitate. I was going to ask Slaney if there's a revenge tour mentality here for the Solar Scarabs team. The history between these two squads, the roster changes, it's all there. And the Solar Scarabs coming into it with a 3-1 win over the Jade Dragons in the quarterfinals. Tartarus Titans find themselves in that first pick slot. Taco, I want to keep talking about that ADC conversation. I know you love playing some Hunter yourself. DC Cyclone's been competing for any of those magical ADCs in this set here today. He's loved the Charybdis, he's the Nami. The last time we saw them was weeks ago at the Phase 3 playoffs. You think that's something the Titans look towards in their draft?
I think the secondary ban already kind of announces it. Cyclone, maybe a Freya, but I'm even skeptical of that because Tartarus Titans are a team that love pressure. They love establishing laning pressure especially, and I think, if anything, Izanami might be one of the more desirable picks. Amus and Cobb also left open currently, and it's interesting too because a lot of these hunters, you would kind of anticipate that they would be a little bit easier to shut down in the team fight engagements, especially guys like AMC, Izzy, because they have just such telegraphed escapes, but it just seems as though the Titans are just really valuing the prot shred that Amus and Cobb can provide, as well as just the slows.
Now, AMC have seen him Hunter, have seen AMC mid a little bit as well, so we'll hold our breath on knowing exactly where that one drives down. Paul, I think, plenty adaptable enough to play either of those. Bastet Hazer has become all the rage in the jungle, and in a set where Layers and Scream are going to be going up against one another, maybe no surprise that Bastet gets taken away first. Naja as well. That's a very Scream-esque ban. And Erlang Shen banned out by the Solar Scarabs. Do you think Naja plus Bastet, that's the right amount of emphasis to put into to Scream on the other side? 2 out of 3 of your first bans seems to make some sense?
It's a lot. It's a lot of emphasis to put on Scream, but he has been controlling the map really well from the jungle. Feels like he didn't miss any Bastet ults at all. Looked absolutely incredible on that pick, considering, you know, he's known for the Bastet, but that is a new ability. That is one that he is not as practiced on. But taking that away, the Neja, I'm slightly surprised by the ban. It was available in the entire set he played yesterday, and Scream never went to it.
Good point.
So Titan's definitely showing a lot of respect towards that pick.
And I think that kind of shows you the speediness of that set. I mean, right in the middle, 4 out of a possible 5 games. Didn't have to show too much for Scream. The Dragons kept giving him Bastet, he kept playing Bastet, and didn't have to show much else. Naja, something Scream has played very well. Let's catch back up, though. AMC, Khepri, and Tiamat here for the Tartarus Titans. Taco, are you concerned that the Solar Scarabs have given Tiamat over to Paul? Tiamat has dropped down the priority chart here a bit as of late. Still maybe one of the priority mages, but with the mid lane meta, things have shifted up a little bit. Tiamat for Paul, I think, carries a lot of weight here into Game 1.
It's a smart choice given how strong Baronic looked on the pick yesterday, even in that Dragon set. And we know that it's something that's within Paul's God pool, but to be fair, I think that just about any mage could realistically be in Paul's God pool. But more importantly, even with this Khepri being solidified, Solar Scarabs, they want to stick to what was so successful for them yesterday with the Osiris pick, even though Achilles left up for grabs. Same thing for Thanatos, but Thanatos may be a little bit more volatile in that jungle pick, probably something that's more keen to being punished.
SOT played Osiris in all 3 of the wins against the Jade Dragons. Died 3 times in the final game, 6-3 and 6. Was that KDA? Hazer, how do you shut down an Osiris when SOT is playing it? There's a lot of gods still available, a few less now that Achilles and Nike have been taken away. What are you looking for in the solo lane here if you're the Titans?
I think the key for me for the Titans is going to be just stalemating this lane out. Osiris quite strong in the laning phase. If you're hitting all those 1s and 2s, which Solar Troll can definitely do, you can dominate that laning phase and poke people out. I think you just want to stalemate this one out and go for a team fight character for Benji.
Well, different mindsets in the final 2 bans. Solar Scarabs take away some solo laners. Tartarus Titans continuing to ban out Scream. So Scream is going to have to go to, well, there's 4 bans from the Titans, all centered around the jungle. 1 ban from the Scarabs themselves. So there are 5 jungle picks, all taken away from Scream, if, I suppose, the Osiris isn't going to end up being Screams then out of the jungle. So could be some flexibility there. The Titans, we assume, still need a jungler and a solo laner for themselves here at this point. Khepri is going to be the pick for Aurora here in game number 1, Taco. Do you think Khepri has his day here and is still in a strong enough point that warrants the pick up against the Emoja.
It depends. Right now, I'm not really seeing enough crowd control from the Solar Scarabs that could really deter the Titans from being able to have more pressure throughout team fight durations. And what I mean by that is that when you know that a Scarab's Blessing is on the field,
right,
you always have to be concerned about that revive. So I would almost like to see a response pick like a Humbats possibly for Scream here in the jungle, something with heavy control that's going to force that Khepri to not necessarily be available to use that ultimate.
And remember, it's been a while since we've seen this Titans team play. It was a Khepri pick up against the Camelot Kings for Aurora in the second to last game of that set. That bought the Tartarus Titans a Phase 3 playoffs win. Morgan Le Fay gets picked up here. Agro and I had a conversation about Morgan during their set yesterday. For a while, Morgan Le Fay was top priority Hazer upon release. Dropped down a little bit. Baronic made it look good, though. 8-0-5 in a win over the Jade Dragons yesterday was Baronic on this Morgan Le Fay. And so clearly there's some value.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 8-0-5, that's all you really got to say. If Baronic's going to pilot it that way, this Tiamat that he has valued being taken away, I think this Morgan makes sense for him to go to as the mage. Camazotz and Artio come through for the Titans. Wow. Camazotz coming through in, what's that, the 8th pick overall? And
that's something that Layers loves to play. If I look at the last 6 games that Layers has played, 4 of them have been on Camazotz. Only Susano and Erlang Shen splits up the party there. And so, Taco, I want to look at now the completed Tartarus Titans draft. AMC, Khepri, Tiamat, Camazotz, Artio. Feels like a Titans draft. Feels pretty concise and straightforward for how they want to play.
Really love how well-rounded the overall composition is. You have plenty of early game presence, lots of pressure that can come through in the burst out of that Camazotz alone, and plenty of lockdown potential as well, I'd say, between the Khepri and the Artio. However, am happy to see that Humbats response from Scream. I think that that's a smart choice and kind of a necessity when you're trying to deal with the likes of Khepri.
Nuts. Yeah, absolutely insane to think about. And it's important for the SCARABS team to remember to not think about that. You know, it's easy as you're going to bed at night just thinking, oh my God, we're only 6 wins away. You know, we can do this. How good would it feel to raise the hammer and, you know, prove everybody wrong? And you got to pump the brakes on that type of thinking, just as the Tartarus Titans need to pump the brakes on that type of thinking. And Aurora said it best. The only game that we're worried about is the one we're about to play. You can't control anything else.
Well, so far, nothing too out of the ordinary. It's the junglers, I think, that has been a big conversation. The mid laners, realistically, should be a big conversation as well. And that 2v2 in mid is crucial. We've seen what Layers and Scream can provide to this, and Paul has been notoriously great at Smite this year. It's the solo lane, though. A little bit of danger. The cooldown, not enough for Solar Troll, so Benji gets away with his life here. But Baronic is the one that I want to zoom in on a little bit more. Not only is it the Morgan Le Fay, but he died once in yesterday's set. I mean, it was an absolutely nuts performance.
That is an insane stat, and that can't happen if Tartarus Titans want to beat them. And the thing that was really impactful was his farm level, that he was consistently getting ahead of Heroin in that mid game. And part of that is the style the Dragons are going to play. They want Heroin to rotate to these side lane invades, and you know, it's consistently purple buff pressure and red buff pressure. Hurry's going to be very willing and selfless on his amount of farm in a way that Paul will not be. Paul is going to be staying where the farm is until he absolutely needs to move, and then he'll be there. Baronic might not find it quite as easy just because of the playstyle differences of these two teams to find that type of lead. And if he doesn't have that lead, can he be as impactful as he was yesterday?
I like that we probably have a scale in player base of who is getting the most farm to least farm, which is Hurry
to
sharing
Shinto.
to Shinto on the other side. Paul is more on the Shinto side, but not quite at Shinto's level. They might be trying to get something done here. Baronic's already getting ganked. Layers jumps forward. Layers is chasing them down, but it's Paul who gets the first blood in the mid lane. And already that is a devastating start for the SCARABS.
The Morgan Le Fay, just so easy to jump on, and the patience from Layers was fantastic. Baronic thinking that Layers is going to try to jump my 2, so I'm going to hold my 2, so then he jumps, then I get him off me. But Layers knows that he thinks he's going to do that, and just hold his jump. And it doesn't worry about it, tries to preemptively do it, doesn't matter, gets his damage off, and ends up getting that easy first blood.
And Aurora was going for something cheeky there. I was wondering if there'd be any sort of retaliation. You know, Medusa, I mean, level 3 is not necessarily when I'm thinking of the Hunters doing a whole ton of damage, but Stuart was focused in on the purple. They do manage to secure their own purple buff. So the SCARABS, again, it's a maybe frustrating start, especially knowing what Paul's capable of doing on Tiamat. It's already gotten to just shy of 1,000 gold. If you get one more camp here, so Layers should be able to push it just over. That, you know, at 3 minutes, manageable, but it definitely feels like it's more in this slippery slope territory, right? If things keep going well for Layers, if Scream isn't able to get his hand on it, especially now that he just ticked over to level 5 and has that Fear No Evil, that's where the Scarabs have to start fighting back.
And look, even if the Scarabs don't exactly have their greatest game one, we've seen that is not a death sentence for them. In fact, we've seen that they got them right where they want them if they get crushed in game one. They did it against the Dragons yesterday. They did it all regular season. In losing those early games, it's common.
Inbound, pulled back. Good Riptide gets him forward, but not far enough ahead. One more auto, and of course a first kill here for Layers in the SWC. He's happy with it. He's going for a little bit more. Scream is rotated over. Layers is going deep into the jungle. The red buff isn't there. And it seems like they're going to leave him alone. Scream is hovering around the duo lane, but I don't know that he's going to try to pull anything off.
Well, Layers might be looking for a bit more, but no blink. Does have his Jotun's Wrath completed already because of that assist from the First Blood. Had enough gold to finish off his pen item, whereas Scream did not.
Yeah, Baronic is going to have some damage thrown his way. A lot being dealt in just a little bit of time. Layers goes up into the bat out of hell, finds his second kill, and is more than happy to run away with that.
And what is Baronic supposed to do? I mean, that's what Camazotz does to mages. He just walks up and he slaughters you, and you just kind of have to hold that L if you don't have the CC in order to take care of him. And again, Baronic just can't find the timing. It's a consistent pattern now of trying to hold that dragon flight, but you can't, you know, if you use it too early, he's just going to jump after you. But either way, it just has not worked out, and Layers is off to a 2-0-1 start. Respect that. So not a great start here for the Scarabs, which, as I said, is a sentence I've said a lot so far here in Season 8.
And honestly, Game 1s, like you said, I think it's actually more worrisome when they won their Game 1s. Those were the sets that would go 3 and then inevitably be a falter for the Scarabs. So hopefully they'll be able to maintain their levels here. Layers gets leapt on here by Soul Lord Troll. He's getting chased down. That's a lot of damage, but Pat out of hell gets the Camazotz out of here, no problem. Benji rotates in, but there's 3 people waiting for you, Benji, and that's a Fear No Evil up against the wall. The River's Rebuke as well, just to lock him in, and the damage is there, but no, Benji heals so much. One more auto. Soul Lord Troll puts up the first kill for the Scarabs.
The Scarabs group up at a perfect time. What a River's Rebuke from inbound. I mean, absolutely perfect. Make sure that bear has absolutely nowhere to go, and that was through a meditation healing and all the healing from the Yardio outright. Took them a while, but they're finally on the board. Doesn't love being behind. I just don't think Morgan Le Fay is able to do a whole lot whenever she's not ahead in levels. That's why Baronic was absolutely dominating yesterday, but otherwise not much.
Well, Cyclone Spin in a little bit of trouble. Scream with a good Fear No Evil pulls him right back in. Forced the beats earlier from Stuart, but now there's a rotation. Aurora's here. It doesn't seem like him and Layers are going to be able to get anything done. A second kill for the Scarabs, and it's a clean one.
And Scream's now 2 for 2 on Fear No Evils transferring into kills, and that is exactly the type of stat that Hunbat's players want to have, getting him out of jail free. But Hunbat's is so excellent, even against characters like AMC or Tiamat, you know, just the ability to auto-cancel and use his abilities quickly makes it very hard to beat him in those situations, but his early game sometimes suffers. So far, not the case for Scream.
Soul Lord Troll eats a lot of damage, but he goes up, down. He's looking for the damage. He's got Baronic behind him, and Layers is the target. The slows are there. Layers still has Bat out of hell. He's safe for now, but the mana is low. Ultimately, it's going to come out as nothing for either squad, but a pushback from the Scarabs. And they've got 4 people on the right-hand side. Inbound might want more.
I like his positioning here, but here comes Aurora as well, coming from the mid lane.
Layers has no mana anymore now. The engage is on Scream, chases him down, doesn't get the overhand smash. Great from Layers for the disengage. Now you've got Aurora, you've got Benji, and soon enough Paul joining the fray. Scream is getting pulled, but there's a River's Rebuke. Locked in the cage with the Scarabs are the Titans, and Benji is stun-locked. Baronic is here. The damage is good, and they're trying to get the team up, but there's a Kepri res from Aurora, and now he's trying to retreat. Beautiful Fear No Evil locks down one, and they're going to go ahead and grab the second with a beautiful Riptide from inbound.
Layers is back, and he's got the bat out of hell, but it's just not going to be enough. Who are these Solar Scarabs, and what have you done with the Solar Scarabs from the entire rest of the year? These guys are maniacs. They completely decimate the Titans in that fight, and they play it perfectly. They know they've got the numbers. It's Scream forcing out Layers, knowing that he's got it back because he's out of mana, so he can take this outnumbered fight. We know that Paul's not going to be super strong, even though he's a little bit ahead. Don't be scared. We can take the fight. They've got the sustain. Just such good fight selection from the Scarabs. And this game started off so horribly for the Scarabs, with Layers getting 2 out of 3 kills. Paul gets first blood. You're thinking all the, oh, it's finally time to strike midnight. I don't think so, man. This SCARABS team, they just do not go away.
And it was a 2-level lead for Paul. I was going to talk about the fact that
Yeah.
I need to watch Paul and Shinto because for some reason they just get so much farm, but Baranik's caught up. He's now 1-2-1, doesn't necessarily glamorous in the slash line.
I mean, you've got a ton of area there. You've got Petrify. You've got Morgan Le Fay,
Oh my
where
God,
everything
wait.
she does is about that AoE. And the Titans are going to have trouble if that really coalesces, because Aurora can save one player, but what about the rest? Because they're all going to be getting hit by this stuff. And that's going to make it very difficult for this Titans team, which is much more single target.
Layers is getting aggressed on. Bad out of hell, first out early. He doesn't have a
What
lot of
is
mana
Sop doing
to
here?
work with. That's a good blink from Scream. He's going to go forward. There's another Fear No Evil. Layers is low, and Sot jumps in. Sot gets the kill, and now Cyclone Spin has to run inbound, cuts off the path. They are looking for the carry, and what a beautiful wall from inbound. Locks him in, and it's a double kill for SOT. He's still going. It's a roar for him. It's Paul for the rest. They are chasing this Tiamat down. Benji is going to be able to peel for the mid laner. Aurora, though, is getting soloed out
Look
on
at
the
Sot.
side. Sot is just chasing him, and if Sot had his leap, he might have been able to go in for more, and he's not stopping under the tier 2 until he gets that SCARABS blessing.
Sot is just putting on a clinic, man. He's 4-0-1. Why is he in duo at 11 and a half minutes? What is he doing over there? Benji's farming like a normal human, and Solar Patrol's over here Goomba stomping down the Tartarus Titans in duo and making it hard for the Titans to do what they want. The SCARABS, man, that's the other thing that really stood out to me yesterday about their set against the Jade Dragons, is they did not give the Dragons a second to breathe. And it really reminded me of primetime Jade Dragons play, where the Jade Dragons wouldn't let you breathe after they got an objective, after they won a fight. It was reset, go straight to the next fight. Reset. And you can tell why. He's active everywhere. Solar Patrol's been involved in 5 of the 6 kills, and they haven't all happened on his side of the map. Inbound's been involved in 5 of 6. I mean, this is a total team effort right now from the SCARABS. And Bobby's looking great on this Yemoja. His Rivers Rebukes have been excellent. You know, he got picked earlier on, but otherwise is positioned very well. And the Tartarus Titans, I mean, you want to talk about a gut punch to lose the wind in your sails. It's not like the SCARABS just came out hot and hit you in the mouth, and that's all it is. The Titans got off to a great start in this game, and this is still happening to them.
And it's, you know, Riptide's like that, right? Just a good grab, a great wall once again from inbound. They want to kill off Aurora. Aurora does have his ult, but he's not going to be able to get it off. He's CC chained, and he's locked down. No Fury available because the SCARABS, yeah, they got that last time for them. Pyromancer is about to respawn, but they're going to strip the jungle, get the Greater Scorpion, of course, be happy with their kill, and move on with their day. I know one of the kills they struggled with earlier was taking down Benji. The amount of healing. They've got 2 meds plus that Ardio healing.
Yeah.
But you've got the Divine Ruin, you've got the Brawlers, you've got a Pestilence there for Solar Patrol. Like, they completely opt out of an Ankh, but they've got a lot of items to help them out with that. But it is this Oni Fury. You would highlight it. Started up by the Titans, and they're burning it pretty quickly. Inbound, Stewart, see it. Veronic, SOT, and Screamer in the neighborhood. And it's just going to be a 50-50 right now. The Titans come up big with the actual Fury. But can they get away with it? Aurora locked down. Aurora has ult, and Aurora's going to use that. The movement speed's good for him, and he almost dodges the Riptide. But that Kepri hitbox is wide. He's going to go down. Support for Fury. So far, so worth. But can they keep it going? Good Fear No Evil locks down Layers. Layers has just enough mana to get into the ult, and the disengage seems to be there for the Titans.
What a great call from the Titans to go straight for that Oni Fury, because they know if they let the SCARABS set their feet on that objective, it's going to be too hard for them to get there. So they call the SCARABS on being on time, and the SCARABS weren't on time. They were late. Solar Patrol was late on his reset, and that made a big difference. But hello, what's all this then? We're going for fire right now? There's 4 up.
You had argued if the SCARABS set up, maybe they'll do well enough. They're going to go for it, and they don't have a lot of ults to work with. They just expended them and didn't get a lot, but Paul is low, and Solar Patrol is trying to make sure he stays that way. Benji is locked down. Benji is getting chased around, and Benji's one-hit Scream picks that one up now. It is still a 4v5. Aurora rejoins the fray. A lot of ults down, but Solar Patrol still has his, and he's still looking for the zone.
I mean, they have the Yemoja sustained, but Aurora being back, I don't like this call at all, and I agree with the SCARABS decision to back up. But hey, what did they get for going for that Fire Giant? A pick on the Benji. They slow the momentum down from the Titans. How much farm did the Titans get between that Oni Fury and right now? Like 0, because they had to be there to contest on that Fire Giant.
Because you started a Fire Giant 30 seconds later for some reason.
And Veronic loses his ult, and that's about it. So I like the execution there from the Solar SCARABS. The call scared me, but you know who saves it? Is Solar Patrol again, because he single-handedly zoned both Paul and Cyclone Spin perfect hitting stuff. He never misses. But it's been the decision making. It's been, you know, the mental fortitude of this player that's been in question in the past. But we always knew that if he could put it together, it would look a lot like this.
Well, they're grouping up one more time around the Fire Giant, and it's not just, hey, we're going to stand here and see what happens. They are starting up the FG 20 minutes in, and it's already halfway down. Solar Troll is zoning out 3. He goes for a leap backwards. Layers is jumping in. SCARABS get the Fire Giant, and Layers is forced to retreat, but there's a River's Rebuke. It's isolating. It's locking down a little bit of Cyclone Spin, and a good Riptide once again. The slow was there. The bees were used, and a great Kepri Res keeps Cyclone Spin alive in this fight, but the SCARABS are running forward. They've got the healing, and they've got Benji right where they want it.
Inbound in a bit of trouble, but Benji's going to find a good stun, walk his way out, and the SCARABS should be happy, I think, that the Tartarus Titans disengaged that fight as well, because they don't have a whole lot of ultimates left in the tank. They've got 0. But man, there are no brakes on the Solar SCARABS bus, man. It is all gas, no brakes is the name of the game right now for this side, because they don't even back to spend. They don't have any ultimates. And where are they? They're sieging. And this is preventing the Titans from getting farm. I don't know if they can get this Phoenix. I don't know if the SCARABS think they can get this Phoenix, but I know it makes sure the Titans aren't farming.
The SCARABS still have a lot of their relics. There's going to be a good stun from Benji onto 2, and a pluck onto SOT pulls him under the Phoenix. The damage is there, and this is where the problem was. You had mentioned not falling back too far. Now they might have bit off more than they can chew. The tanks healing up a little bit. The SCARABS with the FG sustain and the Emoja. They're going to be fine with it, and they back off for now.
I mean, Paul is so strong right now. He really hasn't been a huge participant in these fights because of the way that these fights have been going, but he's still top of his team in player damage. Late to that Baron Fury.
Yeah.
This time, they're on time. I was a little bit worried about their reset. I saw them being pretty spread out. I think that they got back in time. They bought their items. Now they're now very strong. 4 out of 5 starters are upgraded now for the Solar SCARABS. They've bought really efficiently, and they should be able to start to siege in earnest. I like them leaving this Primal Fury for what it's worth. You just don't want the Titans to be getting it for free.
Yeah, they've got 2 tier 2s that still stand in their way between knocking down a mid or left Phoenix. Solar Troll is looping around towards the back of the fight. He's keeping Layers busy as of right now. Scream has Blink, has ult, goes in, gets a great Fear No Evil, locks down Aurora, and Aurora has to ult himself, and Solar Troll doesn't care about the rest of the Titans. He's going for Cyclone Spin, and he's got 1. He's looking for 2. Layers has to go to the bat of the hell, has to force the retreat, but Benji left all alone. That is 3 kills for the SCARABS, a tower, a Phoenix, and it might just be the game.
What? Is Sot's client bugged? Is he taking less damage? Is he doing more? I don't understand what's happening. These Solar SCARABS are just unstoppable.
They're taking a little bit of time here on the mid Phoenix, but they've got 17 seconds until Aurora is back. They're on the Titan as of right now. Layers and Paul trying to get the damage out there, but they just don't have what it takes. Paul's taken down, and the SCARABS strike first in this set.
Unreal. I think the Titans got the first 3 kills of this game and then got blanked.
Yes.
It ended 12-3. They got the 3 first, the best team in this tournament, unequivocally.
Yes.
Everyone coming in, knowing the Tartarus Titans are the team to beat. They got off to a 3-0
First
start.
blood,
They
2
got
kills for
first
Layers.
blood, 2 more kills for Layers, and then they got absolutely stomped the rest of that game.
The most perfect bat salt, the most perfect Yamoja ult, back to back, and they pick up that kill, and they just never stopped running from there.
And Taco, I think as if Scream needed any more love and support from the community. I mean, this guy's been there and done that. Scream eats like 5 bans in the pick and ban phase, gets Hunbat's last pick overall in the draft, and still makes it look like this. Scream playing phenomenally in game 1. In Inbound, you gave us a little Inbound stat, has like only beaten the Dragons on this Yamoja.
And it's broken.
Put together a great performance here against the Titans.
This was, without a doubt, Inbound's best performance ever, probably, on Yamoja.
I don't think you're wrong.
Great River's Rebukes, actual Riptides catching their opponents, pulling them into the team, and there was just so much control that you wouldn't necessarily expect either. At like a point-blank view, it seems as though the Kepri Revive is going to be enough to deal with a lot of this SCARABS control, but at the end of the day, it was just the SCARABS continuing to break through. They were just non-stop running it down on the Tartarus Titans, kind of just giving them the heads up that, hey, this isn't the same tournament, man.
And the only reason I ever question playing without pressure or anything like that is because the way you see the pop-offs there in the post-game cams, maybe that is a team that is truly playing without pressure. They're like, we're just taking the wins we can get, and they are winning a lot. They have now won 4 straight games, 1 of them over the Titans, 3 of them straight against the Dragons yesterday, and the emotion starting to overflow. in a good way. I mean, this is a SCARABS team that feels very, very difficult to deny here. 3 kills total for the Tartarus Titans in this game. All 3 of them front-loaded, and none of them happening throughout the rest of the game. Hazer, at some point, and we'll talk about this for Game 2 a little bit more, we've got to have an answer for this Osiris, because another game for Sot and another game without a death.
I think the answer might be a ban. I'll be honest, Benji.
Yes!
Benji could well have an
Pick
Osiris
it.
in the locker. Maybe he's going to grab that. Can you first pick it? I don't know. Maybe you can top to it on second pick side. But there has to be a removal of those Osiris. He can't keep getting away with this.
No, mitigated 30,000 damage, so similar to what Benji did, but doubled up on the damage of Benji here in this game if you want to compare solo to solo. It's all in the family here.
Evident
You
2
have
days
to-
now in a row that he has just been a dominant factor with that pickup. And Tartarus Titans, if they're going to remain in that first pick position, they definitely have the potential to look to grab it for themselves, though, if they want to try it out for Benji.
I feel like you have to. It has been, I'll highlight it, 4 straight games again that the SCARABS have won. 4 straight games on Osiris for SOT. 5-0-11, 4-0-10. 6-3-6 is the worst KDA Sot has had in 4 games on Osiris, then 5-0-5 in Game 1 here against the Titans. I think that shines a light that something, whether it's a pick or a ban, needs to be thrown that direction. It's not a ban here from the Tartarus Titans. Bastet, Olaron, and Yamoja. So Yamoja's the big change. And Hazer, we're sticking with the AMC.
Yeah, I do like the switch up, to be honest, as well. I would have also taken away the Osiris, which does get grabbed by Sot, but this AMC into Yamoja matchup's one we've seen a few times now in this event, and it seems to be going the Yamoja's way. AMC, no way out of that Rivers Rebuke, and the Rivers Rebukes that game from inbound were absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking away something good. I mean, absolutely. You're banning out the Emoja, and that needed to be looked at as well, whether it was a pick or a ban, because of the way that inbound played it. Medusa to follow up the Osiris pick for the Solar Scarabs. Achilles, though, Taco, is that an answer for the Osiris in the solo lane?
Could be, because now Benji actually has the opportunity to play much more aggressively in that solo lane matchup as opposed to when he was on the RDO, because RDO, she can definitely be a controlling factor in team fights, but not when your Osiris opponent decides to just go on tour, and that was basically solo or troll, just running all around the map. I mean, it almost looked like a rank game for a second when you saw his rotations that early on, but they were great time, and I think the timing, more importantly, just completely caught the Titans off guard.
And it caught our casters off guard. There was one point where Aggro's breaking down a fight, and he's like, we're like 10 minutes into this game. Why is Sot on purple buff? Like,
if it
10
works, it
minutes
works.
Right, and if it works, it works. You're right. He's taken by surprise, but it also worked out for the Solar Scarabs. Now the second wave of bans will roll through Camazotz and Kepri. So a forced pivot now for the Tartarus Titans. Going to be something different in the jungle for Layer, something different in support for Aurora. Hunbat's a smart ban out here from the Tartarus Titans as well. But this time, Hazer, it feels like, okay, I was going to say Scream is playing with a little bit more freedom in his pick department. But a player I think that has proven to us that you can ban him out 4 or 5 times and he'll still have something to play.
Yeah, he always seems to pull something out, Scream. And Serket, I would say, probably going to go the way of Bobby here. Inbound will be
inbound, yep.
Most likely piloting this, although it might be a flex, I'm not sure. Scream seems to like to leave his picks, as a lot of junglers do, to the bottom 2, to that last pick, to get as many counters as he can. I think junglers probably have the least kind of forced picks here. Maybe Erlang, maybe Kama, but other than that, they can kind of go wherever they like.
Have been a couple of Serket games from inbound. 2 against the Jade Dragons, both of them wins. So inbound has shown that he is able to play the Serket towards the highest level. And Morgan Le Fay, again, it was a head scratcher for a game or 2, but now Baronic has shown that he has the ability to play this pick. Was punished a bit early in that game, where Layers was able to make his way mid, punished the Morgan Le Fay just a bit early on. Titans will snap lock this Fenrir. Is there a world where that's support in your mind, Taco? And this Nike. Okay.
That might have just answered the question for you.
All right, decipher. We got Achilles, Fenrir, and Nike. How do you place those 3?
It's hard to shy away from the idea of Fenrir being intended for Aurora, given his history with this god pick. So I think naturally I'm leaning a little bit more towards Fenrir support in this circumstance, Nike for Benji, and then a possible Achilles jungle. But it really is a little bit vague here for the Titans. I do love the fact that they are so ambiguous with their composition heading into this game, because it makes things much more difficult for the Solar Scarabs here. If Serket, I think, has largely become a support factor for that Solar Scarabs. We haven't really seen Scream run that pick in a long time. If anything, I was almost curious whether or not the Daji might even get brought out here for Scream.
It might be. Gilgamesh is the hover, though, for Scream right now for the Solar Scarab. Serket and Fenrir, we assume will end up being the support picks across the aisle from one another. If it ends up being a Gilgamesh here, Hazer, this is an interesting one. Gilgamesh was at the forefront of a lot of our minds throughout Phase 3 into the Phase 3 playoffs. It has been a force in the jungle all year long. I would argue maybe a slight drop-off in play here as of late. Do you think there's some value still in the Gilgamesh?
Yeah, I definitely still think he's strong. He's got strong CC, he's got strong area denial, which is the thing I like him for a lot. Can cover when you have maybe characters with a little bit less area control. Last game they had the Emoja and the Bats covered the area control for them. This time the Gilgamesh gives a good amount of AoE space control so they can go for things like Fire Giants and drop that ult in front of it and force the enemy team out.
That's a great point. Thinking long and hard about what direction the Solar Scarabs want to go with their final pick.
Ooh.
Maybe still some area control if you consider Typhoon Taco.
Is that something the Titans need to do?
Yeah, I think that you're right along. You're on the same track of mind as Aurora is on, which makes me on the same track, which is Aurora's done getting engaged upon. He doesn't want to get hit first anymore. He wants to be the first one to strike, and therefore he takes this Fenrir, which has been an unbelievable pick for him. Think back to the last time that he won a World Championship, Season 5. It was a lot of Fenrir over here in support and looking really, really strong. And I like Aurora taking this game by the horns with this type of pick. I think that it really can be the type of difference maker that they need.
Well, deja vu is
Can't
happening
happen.
again.
No, it's
Benji's
the tower
it's the
shot.
tower around the
No,
minions.
it's this.
Get Solar Troll Benji with the first blood. So close, but finally that Osiris gets shut down.
Not like this, Score. He didn't die at all last game. Not to the tower, because he was trying to auto-attack him with the last bit of damage. Is that the joke? That he's been dominating with this Osiris and he dies like that?
Ooh, Layers takes a lot. Layers takes a lot more damage than I even expected. And they don't chase him down for the kill.
Did he get CC'd as he tried to take it? I mean, you can just reactivate the 3. Scream knows it. You can. That's how it goes, but doesn't end up working for him. Doesn't end up going for it. Is inbound, chasing Layers all the way to the backs, but Layers is healthy enough now.
And now with inbound, backing out of here. He's going to get out of here. I honestly want to watch that one more time, the first blood, because Osiris, I mean, you have to watch this. First off, the amount of damage he did is nuts. And it was almost deja vu to last time, but it's just that one misstep.
Yeah, just taking one extra auto. The med bait over here by Benji, as he's got to know what's coming through. One more auto.
Right there.
Yeah, got greedy for it. The auto landed, still didn't kill him. Tough. And now, we talking last game, we know Sot's mechanically insane. It's the mental part of the game.
Yep.
Can he stay mentally in it after inting away first blood? That's going to be the question.
Well, last time they I don't want to say inted away. They didn't int away anything, but they did go down by 3 kills pretty early on. So I don't know if they're as stressed about it as they could be, but it's definitely like that one hits harder than the way it originated in game 1 with the kills, especially coming from the mid lane.
I mean, look at what it's changed. Benji's able to back by Shillelagh and have that as a power spike ready to go for this invade. And he did not end up getting it, so it ends up being okay for the Solar Scarabs. But, you know, we expect to see Solar Patrol the one on the offensive more often than not.
And that has shaken things up. Hazer had said, yes, this is going to be a very important solo lane matchup. Benji has a skin in the game on Cucullin for his performance during that Season 4 E-United win.
Season 4 E-United, don't forget, the Deathwalker kind of worked him with the Osiris in a couple matchups.
True.
You know, I was just rewatching that set on Throwback Thursday.
The parallels are too much.
Yeah, so, but Benji did get the better end and played unbelievably in that set as well, but then afterwards said that Deathwalker's still the GOAT, so, you know, that's kind of how Benji works.
We'll see if Solar Troll is going to be able to keep that up. Inbounds over here in mid, he taunts out Paul. Falls back immediately, no help from Scream or Baronic. They're just waiting for the mid camps going for the farm. Aurora is the other one to keep your eyes on. 2 assassins. Normally, if we just have 1 Guardian in that matchup for the supports, it's a lot easier to say, hey, this is the team that's going to be aggressive. Inbound has been on point with this Serket in the last couple of days. And Aurora, as of right now, hasn't shown too much of what this Fenrir is capable of.
I really feel like the Fenrir is here to absolutely demolish the Morgan Le Fay and the Medusa. You know, it's there to stop the back line from doing what they want to do. And it's no meditation from Aurora. He had no intention of getting low in this lane. It's upgraded Shell right away, interestingly enough, which, again, leans to me that it's more Medusa that he's going to be going for necessarily than Baronic. You know, we've seen Aurora do this in the past. We've seen Mike do it in the past with these Fenrir supports that are designed to 1v1 backline. Sometimes you'll see them go like Thorn Sunder as a combo. The Shell's a little bit interesting in that spot, but it still gives him an extra HP pool to go in.
Oh, Scream's over here on the dual lane, though, and they're looking for the burst. They just get rid of Cyclone Spin like it's nothing in Aurora. Yeah, he was trying not to be the one getting aggressed on, but it's a double kill for Stuart, and Scream walks out with his life.
This duo lane just continues. You can pick to beat it, and it won't just happen. You gotta earn it. And the Solar Scarabs absolutely turn it around. Scream knows that he's leaving his right side jungle up and letting Solar Patrol be on the island, but heading over to that duo lane that has been so good. Really, really impressive.
Solar Patrol gets Benji's ult here. Once that shield disappears, I was wondering if he wanted to play a little more aggressively. He's still positioning in a good spot. With layers here, he's probably going to take it a little more relaxed. And like you said, loses a little bit of the jungle, but isn't necessarily worse for wear. Still on par for the most part, a little behind where Benji is, but ultimately they're going to be fine with it. That's that blue buff that really shakes up the solo lane. The duo lane's more than happy. If Stuart gets a double kill, that's a great way to kick things off.
Right.
And now, so really opening up that conversation of what Scream had going through his mind. I feel like that was a convincing, like, no guys, trust me on this one. I can make it work. And so far, yeah, I believe him. I mean, he is technically down in terms of level. That's some of that farm getting stripped away. But he's had a much better performance so far. In terms of the kills, speaking of kills, they want a little bit more. Aurora forced to leap away. Layers just trying to stay alive and safe, but Inbound goes in and he's trying to lock down the jungler. There's the slow from Stuart, and the chase is on. Aurora gets caught out. Layers might get out, but you're going to lose your support. One more hit, and it's a kill for the jungler.
Oh my god! Scream is so nuts! I can't believe he almost killed him. There's no justice in the world that Layers lives from that play. That Scream did the Zach Galifianakis gif of math and ended up exactly where Layers was, and he didn't kill him.
Oh, Inbound goes deep, gets the buff. No, doesn't even strip away the buff. Loses his life, so support for support.
He inbounds it.
Yeah, that is, honestly, par for the course. He had a lot of great Emoja plays last game, so he had to have something like that to balance it out.
Sometimes, hey, you get the good with the bad sometimes, Bobby, and you get the mistake there, ends up getting the beads at least from Cyclone Spin, but that's not enough, I don't think, to justify the life, unless he comes back and kills him for it, in which case, then it's not so bad.
Right now, Solar Troll gets this blue buff, and they fall back. I want to look at that from Scream's perspective, just because, that, like you said, like the angle that he's able to hit. The chase down is really good from Inbound and Stuart and the damage, but the ult that he fires out has to be nuts.
I mean, he sees Layers backing right there. If he would have just let it charge, I don't know if Layers, because it charges up in damage as well, I don't know if it would have done enough, if he would have still been in range.
Just out of range.
Yeah, I don't know. That was 39 HP. That is crazy. What a play. To really threaten you on that Brutalize in the early stages of the game. And Baronic's actually going for the Breastplate of Valor, which makes sense. It's a 4 physical composition. They're going to be on top of you a lot. And Morgan Le Fay's a character that really loves that cooldown because her base cooldowns are a little bit high. So having that utility that she brings with her abilities up more often feels really good.
Well, this is a large grouping from both the Scarabs and the Titans in left. Aurora had gone for a leap, didn't catch Scream out the way he wanted to. Stuart, Scream, go for the purple buff. Inbound looks for a little more. Layers is the target, and Layers is locked down. He gets thrown back to the Wolves, and the Wolves are ready to bite, but no, the tick damage. Finally, someone gets it. Stuart gets his third for the game. 100% kill participation for the carry.
And Inbound gives him the little taunt on the way out. Remember, Layers kicked from this team earlier this year, had some choice words on his way out. Bet you they're feeling pretty good about how the set is going so far on the Scarabs.
Zone is good from SOT. He's just chasing down Paul. He has one job, and it is get rid of the mid laner. He is chasing him. He is going. He is surrounded by 4. They do kill him, but they trade out. No, the Fury gets leashed by the rest of the Scarabs. So ultimately, it's just a death.
Yeah, that's a mistake there from SOT. And when we're talking about decision making and that type of thing being his weakness at times, it's that exact play. Where he's doing everything really well. He gets the beads, he forces the jump back, he's got great positional advantage now, and all he has to do is simply not try and kill him. And instead, he tries to kill him, and then ends up falling a little bit further behind because of it. I mean, he got first blooded over there in solo because of taking the tower shot, and now he's going to lose this entire right side jungle wave.
Well, Cyclone Spin is not much better off than the opposing solo laner. He gets taken down 1-2-1. Amuzen Cobb, if you sit on him, apparently it still works the exact same way it's always worked since he's released.
Yeah, I've been surprised at how much AMC duo we've seen. I really feel like he's much better in that mid lane, and that's why we're seeing it.
Layers Forced to ult to disengage there. That was a blink, though, from Scream in the mid lane. The Scarabs are still playing as aggressively, but it's not quite as tight as we saw throughout game 1. Scream looked like he wanted a little bit more here, but goes for the disengage. It's mid Harpies, Oracle Harpies, all going the way of the Scarabs. It's going to be some good farm.
So these last few games, it's been all hold that thought. Scream pulls in layers. Is he just gone?
And now there's the damage. Scream's able to get one right before he goes down. They do turn it around, though. Inbound is the kill. Scream's alive, but barely so. Aurora's able to close that one out. Baronic is there. The tower does a little bit of damage, and Sot is scooping around through the bottom. He wants something from this, and we saw what he could do up against this team before. Baronic's damage paired with Solar Troll. They're trying to chase it down, but Benji joins the fray, and this 2v3 is not good for the Scarabs. They have to run away, and Solar Troll leaps out of danger.
Really good Lord of the Afterlife over the wall, but the Tartarus Titans starting to fight back a little bit. And I was just about to say that the storyline has, of course, been Solar Troll and Scream and how much work they've been doing. This time, the ball's in a different court. It's Stewart's game to win at this point. He's 4-0-1. He's 2 levels up on Cyclone Spin. The right side of the map is not dominating as hard as they have. Stewart's been playing unbelievably well so far this weekend. They all have on the Solar Scarabs. But this is Stu's game now at this point. Game as it is for all the Tartarus Titans in the last 2 months takes one game to then be like, okay, so that's how we're playing solo lane. And I will be there every fight. And he has been there, and he has been there early every single fight. Has not been out-rotated at all in this game. It's a great veteran adjustment from a veteran solo lane.
Pyromancer started up and taken down by the Titans. So trying to expand that lead even further, approaching 2,000 gold and sitting pretty comfortably around. So the experience, though, is just topsy-turvy for these two teams. It's been going back and forth. A lot of what the Titans pull in their favor has been this right side jungle. And they have a 5-on-2 advantage on this right side. And that's because Stewart, you had highlighted and being important, he's split pushing right now. He had inbound helping him a little bit as well, and he's starting to put a little bit of pressure on a tier 2.
Yeah, I mean, Cyclone just can't go back to duo. He'll just die, potentially. So it makes sense that he's got to be over in this right-hand side, getting as much farm as he can. But Stewart does the right thing. Pushes it down, gets that tower, opens it up on this left-hand side, and maybe this is a place the Scarabs can make a play.
And they're waiting for Cyclone Spin. They don't care about Aurora. They want this AMC, and they are chasing him into the tower. Inbound, Scream, try to get the damage done, but they don't have enough. Stinger gets dropped. Aurora is chasing him down, but does not have the bite just yet. And there misses it, times out, and now he's the one out of position, but it's not going to be enough. The Scarabs still on the disengage. Paul,
nice blink.
Benji starting to join the fray. Good blinks to get out of here. Scream, Baronic, inbound, everyone on the Scarabs should be out of here.
And this is what the Scarabs are forcing the Titans to do. Have a 5-man brawl on the left side at 14 minutes into the game. And the Titans have really adjusted well. Solar Patrol does end up securing that red buff. And Scarabs now falling a little bit behind. They try and execute a dive onto Cyclone. His relic usage was pretty solid. Ends up using that Aegis to immune some damage from the Typhoon and made that dive a lot harder. And now because the Scarabs are the ones on the offensive foot and the Titans counterpunch properly, that means the Scarabs have to recollect themselves first, and the Titans, well, they just chase the Scarabs onto their side of the map, and an undefended tower is here. We can take that, thank you very much.
Kind of forcing fights wherever they want them. And around this time last game, they lost the fight around the Fury, then transitioned almost immediately into a Fire Giant feint. So it wouldn't be too surprising to see them make some of those plays. But the problem is last time, you had mentioned it, but like Solar Troll has a distinct lead. He's like 4-0 at this point, at this minute mark in the last game. He's 0-2-1 here.
Yep.
It really does still feel like a lot of pressure on Stewart just because he's got this large lead over Cyclone Spin.
And I'm interested in how the Scarabs are also going to play the map from this position, because they've been ahead in a lot of these mid games. This is the first time where they really aren't.
Uh-oh, inbound, picked up, pulled back. Scream is going to get a little bit of damage. It's all onto Layers, and Layers is the one who gets taken down here. Now Aurora is left alone, and Aurora is taken down. 2 kills for the Scarabs out of nowhere.
Okay, so forget what I just said about not being ahead, because now they've got all the priority in the world. Aurora just goes for the wrong target there. Inbound is too tanky to just pick up and assume Paul can kill. Paul has 0 pen. You think he can chew through a Sledge and a Sovereignty? I mean, it's not even that much magical prot, but it's a ton of HP, and Paul just can't do that much damage with this build at this point in the game. It's just an easy turnaround there from the Scarabs on bad target selection.
Look at inbound. He knows exactly what he wants. Cyclone Spin is the target. Paul is alone and isolated as well. They've got the minion wave. Not enough damage to knock down that tier 1. Not enough to find a kill either. Primal Fury about to respawn. Inbound's the only person who's low, but it looks like the Scarabs are going to have to fall back completely.
And the good news is for the Tartarus Titans is that fight happens at a time where there's not much to lose. You know, the Titans have such great wave clear between the AMC and the Tiamat that sieging a Tier 1 tower, even in a 5v3 where some of your members are a little bit hurt and without ultimates, isn't an easy task because of all that wave clear.
Deja vu. Guess who's here and set up, and guess who's late? The Titans start up the Primal Fury. Scream is going to be able to see this. The damage not going to be there. The Titans secure a Primal Fury and open themselves up for a much more convincing conversation. 2,800 gold, and they're going to continue this amount of force. They really need to find some important fights.
And then PK did it. And this is awfully reminiscent to me where those SK and PK teams, they don't even look like themselves. They look like other people, you know, playing with their faces that are just smite gods, and that's what the Scarabs have been doing.
And they've been playing an impeccable game so far. Layers gets pulled back and is forced to disengage their Aurora's eye locked down, and that's going to be enough. They get the kill on top of the support. Now the Titans are a man down. Fire Giant started up by the Scarabs, and only Benji can see it.
That's huge to get a roar, but he's going to be back in 30 seconds, and the Scarabs did use a pretty important ult.
Oh, they're going to engage those Solar Troll. Knows who he wants. Cyclone Spin is the target, and Cyclone is half health. One more hit, gets the kill. Scream is able to find that one. The damage is big from the Medusa. Now you just have to stay alive. Scream's low, inbound's low. Same thing for a majority of the Scarabs. Benji is the only one who can do something about it. Paul is alive. But they stop that Fire Giant. And they just narrowly miss stopping Solar Troll's back. No, they find him, and now he has to get out. No, he gets taken down, caught in the miss.
That's a huge play from Paul because that was an easy reset straight into Fire Giant situation for the Solar Scarabs if they had all 5. Now 4v3, you don't have any ultimates, your relic situation in the jungle isn't looking particularly good. Stu has no beads. It's a bit spooky, I think, for the Scarabs to go for the big objective. They could go for Gold Fury as that's up in 30, but both Layers and Cyclone will be up at that point. So that's a huge play from Paul in order to find Solar Troll in that mist. But how about that play from the Solar Scarabs? Aurora's just too far forward. Cyclone Spin's not there. I know that the Scarabs are on the Fire Giant, but they're not going to do it quickly at all. You don't have to respect it that early on. So I think you have to play a little more patiently in that moment. But as soon as Cyclone Spin walks around the corner, everything else doesn't matter anymore to this team. They just instantly gun him down with everything to make sure that they kill Cyclone. That has been the play every single time.
I thought for sure Inbound was going to get turned on at any point. He followed them from the mid-tier 1 all the way through their jungle. And they finally notice him, but it is going to be the Fire Giant started up by the Titans here.
That's what they do.
And they're burning it down pretty quickly. Half health already for the objective. Inbound sees it. Veronic Stewart sought here. They're going to get aggressive. Aurora picks up Solar Troll and brings him back to everyone else, but there's not a lot of damage follow-up. In fact, he's happy about it. He's going on to Cyclone Spin, but the damage is there onto Inbound. He's going to be the first to fall, but they get rid of Cyclone. They get rid of Solar Troll. It is a 4v3. The damage still exists for the Solar Scarabs, but they're scattered to the wind. They stop the Fire Giant, but it costs them 2.
That time, Aurora picking up that front line ends up working really well because they have this execute from Layers to make it so they don't have to kill them to 0. They only have to get them down to like that 25% threshold, and that makes it a lot easier. And Solar Troll just doesn't find a great target with that ultimate. I know what he's going for, but Cyclone able to space it enough. Look, if they want to kill you and use this much as a backliner, you're going to die. There's nothing that Cyclone can do to survive these fights if this is how the Solar Scarabs are going to play it. What it means is that the rest of the team's got to pick up the slack, and Cyclone's got to try to do as much as possible before he dies. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for his death in these team fights. And how many teams are willing to go, we're going to make Paul beat us? Not that many, but that's kind of been the strategy so far for the Scarabs, and frankly, it's been working.
So bad news for the Solar Scarabs. That last fight, probably not the cleanest they could have asked for. Good news, they get that Fury, they tie up the gold lead pretty much, actually even pull a little bit closer to their favor. But ultimately, the best thing in my mind for them as of right now is that you've still got a 6-0-2 Stewart, and you still got Scream, who is 6-1. I mean, all their kills are only on 2 people, but they're doing great.
They're only on 2 people, but the front line is all that's dying right now for the Scarabs. Of the 8 deaths, 7 are on tanks. And the back line and Scream are nearly untouched. Scream's the other death. Veronic and Stewart have not died yet in this game, and they haven't been under threat of dying yet this game. Tiamat's this character that's really good when the fight's coming to her and everyone's on top of her, and she's got good long range as well, but I don't really think of her as a great backline killer.
A lot of that.
And I think.
But now he's got the Relic Dagger, a little bit more health all around in his build that he had last time. He had sold an item. I can't remember what was in that spot. But he had sold it, and so he was definitely feeling a little bit more of the brunt of the damage. The Titans are grouping up, and they're going for inbound now. They don't wait for the Scarabs to group up on. They just want to burn him down the old-fashioned way, and they're going to do it quickly. Now Solar Troll is isolated. They've got 5 around him. Solar Troll leaps away. Should be able to disengage, but that opens up the floor for the Titans.
And this front line has been so good for the Scarabs. It's Solar Troll, it's inbound, it's Scream. What are we going to do? We're going to draft a comp to kill them. We're going to just take them out of these fights every single time, and it's so intelligent by the Tartarus Titans. And it's just, it's really simple arithmetic at that point. We're just picking gods that kill frontline well. It's Fenrir, it's AMC, it's Tiamat, it's Achilles. And then we've got Benji to zone, and just make sure that no one's going to take too much damage on the back end. And inbound not going beads, Solar Troll not going beads. I think that is the best thing that Aurora could have seen whenever he pressed tap.
You've got 5 people with Fire Giant, 1 in mid. The other 4 have already knocked down a tier 2 in right, so even more gold going their way. And Benji is just zoning everyone. The Scarabs are on the defense now. And they've already been struggling a little bit in these fights. Ultimately, this will be one that the Titans have to bring to them. And that's where I pose the question to you. I see this Circuit immediately. I think, great, that's awesome engage. How well are they going to be able to fare if the Titans are running at them at the Phoenix 2 on right, and then they reset? Primal Fury is going to respawn in a little bit, but they are going to knock down the remaining 3 towers. Tier 2 in mid, and now the Tier 2 in left going down, and they are poised to get aggressive here. Benji is split pushing. Typically, it's the jungler we see over there. Layers is going to join him. This is where things can get really awkward, especially with those Tiamat minions. You have to factor them in the push potential, but it's Scream in mid lane. He gets the double knockup, but the damage is just not there to kill off Layers. Solar Troll pushes him back, and it doesn't cost him anything. The rest of the Titans have not gotten aggressive on the left-hand side.
But it's cost Solar Troll his blink at the very least, and Benji's the only one who uses the ultimate. I don't see why the Titans can't just rinse, repeat, go right back towards that mid lane, and Scream now doesn't have a huge tool.
There's a little bit of aggression from inbound, trying to start up some fights. Not going the way they want. There is the play you had just called out. Scream pulls in 2, but that Phoenix is getting burned quickly, and it's taken down. That's 1 off the board for the Scarabs. Now the Titans get to loop around, and they've isolated Solar Troll, forced him away. He's at 50% HP. Inbound, very similar, but a much quicker amount of damage being dealt his way. Aurora does not get anybody picked up. He eats a lot of damage for his trouble, and the Scarabs so far mounting a decent defense. Inbound tries to find Paul. Inbound just costs him his life and is not able to lock him down. Paul instead looking for even more damage.
Paul and Layers just making it happen in that 2v2, and all the while Cyclone whittling away on that left side Phoenix. Titans have broken the base.
Benji leading the way. Paul right beside him right now. The Titan is going to start taking damage. It's a 4-on-5, and the Titans are doing it the way they need to. Nobody's in trouble. Scream is taking too much, and that Titan goes down. We've got a tie set.
It appears the Bugs can bleed, actually, with the way that they're playing right now. They end up making it happen, and the Titans end up making it happen, and they win that game too, and they really needed it, man. They absolutely needed that win, and it's really critical in my mind that it was about this early game momentum.
The team fights actually came through. Well, Tiamat, she still does a ton of damage, a ton of setup and control, and it was largely just the Paul and Benji show for game number 2.
And that's important, Hazer, because we were talking in the green room. It didn't seem like in game 1. We literally have had one single game to see it, but it's just a matter of time before we see the World Championship Paul, right? We didn't see it in game 1. It was a quiet start to game 2. Layers had a bit of a quiet start to this game as well. But I think that Tiamat and Paul specifically, big turning point here in this game, and that's important to get Paul rolling.
Yeah, for sure. You want to get, I mean, this guy has almost carried teams to SMITE World Championships. He is an amazing player individually, and if you get him rolling, he's going to be hard to stop. Baronic has been having a great tournament so far, and now he kind of has to respond to what Paul's doing. Maybe they want to take him off this Tiamat to try and cool him off a bit.
Yeah, that's a great point. Baronic and how unstoppable Baronic has felt. This was a bit, I mean, Hurriwin's put together a great year for the Jade Dragons, but going up against Paul and the year and the expectations that Paul carries, especially around the SWC, massive test for Baronic, who goes undying, 0-0-9, but didn't see much out of the Morgan Le Fay. I think this is a tough one maybe for Stu to swallow, Taco. He goes, what, 6-0, something like that? I mean, the game kind of handed to Stewart over there on the left side of the map. But I think in some of your talking, it felt like the AMC just felt better in a situation like this.
Almuz Cobb was intended to be the sacrificial lamb from the start. As soon as the Titans realized they weren't able to channel those blinks when they wanted to.
P's and B's for game number 3, and the big conversation was around SOT, who had played and won 4 straight games on this Osiris, did end up dying 3 times in 4 games. Now a 5th Osiris game. This one's a loss. And Hazer, it felt like the Osiris was kept in check a little bit better here in game number 2. The Titans, we wondered and we almost hoped that they would put some ban or pick priority towards the Osiris, but it seemed like they had things figured out around that pick in this last game.
Well, I feel like Solo Patrol maybe figured it out for them a little bit. He kind of runs into that tier 1 tower,
That's
level
true.
2, falls down, gives
That's
Benji that
true.
first blood bounty, and from then on, Benji's never going to lose that lane. You know, it's Benji. He's
Right.
arguably, almost definitely the best
got a
solo laner
spinning
of all
game,
time,
right?
right? Yeah.
So, and I think you draw a comparison to Baronic and the games that Baronic has been playing. You run into World Championship Paul. SOT has been on a streak. You run into World Championship Benji. This was always going to be the Titan, for lack of a better word, that the Solar Scarabs were going to run into. This is a long set, and I have the feeling that this one's going to be a bit back and forth. It's time for the Solar Scarabs to answer back, though. They are in the 2nd pick slot. And interestingly enough, Taco, after having an answer for the Osiris, whether it was SOT himself or the Titans themselves, Osiris is going to get banned away.
Certainly some self-inflicted wounds there as far as how the solo laning phase itself went, but the fact that the Titans still feel as though this Osiris ban is a smart choice, and I have a hard time not agreeing with them. I think that you just don't really want to risk whether or not SOT is essentially going to kind of solo himself in a way. I mean, Benji, he doesn't really get soloed.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way,
No.
but at the same time, it's still just so much pressure as a pick. The guy just has such an easy time getting to the back line and can be such a big disturbance factor that I wouldn't be surprised here, honestly, if the Titans look to maybe prioritize a pick for Paul early on.
Sure, Paul gets the Tiamat last game, needed some time to scale up by the time that game rolled through. Paul feeling just fine over in the mid lane. Bastet continued to get banned out. All around, we wondered where that priority would land just because of how good Stewart has looked on that pick. Tartarus Titans don't want to deal with it. Yamoja banned out by the Solar Scarabs this time. That is a very strong pick for Aurora. And Hell has seen her fair share of bans throughout the early part here. So the Tartarus Titans, Hazer, they got a lot to play with here. As far as priority still goes, I know that jungle has been a pretty popular ban priority throughout the draft so far, but that's not to be. Tiamat ends up being the first pick.
Yeah, Tiamat over the Amusing Cab. I actually really like what the Titans have done here. Typically, after a team wins, you kind of expect them to run it back with the same bans. But Titans, they kind of nullify all the discussions the Solar Scarabs have been having in this little break by switching up their bans, getting rid of the Osiris. And you saw how long the Scarabs took to decide whether they wanted to get rid of that Yamoja, whether they wanted to ban something else. It totally messed with their preparation here, which is great. Tiamat comes through, and now we're going to see if the Scarabs want that Amusing Cab. They haven't had the chance to grab it yet. And I think they will be grabbing it in this top 2 here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Baronic, for a while, hadn't been playing these traditional mages in mid. You know, it'd been a lot of AMC, a lot of Charybdis. The Hunters in mid is where Baronic looked the most comfortable. Seen a lot of Tiamat, a lot of Morgan Le Fay, rather, over his last few games. And so that has definitely been a bit of a pivot. Taco, how concerned are you about Inbound after the way game number 2 went there? Great knockdown, drag-out performance in game 1. Gets handed the Circuit, looks a little iffy. Do you feel like you need to prioritize his pick early in this draft?
Inbound will likely have his pick prioritized prior to Scream and Solo Patrol, simply for the fact that the Scarabs would probably prefer if Scream and SOT got some picks where they actually had an idea of what the Titans composition is aiming for first. So I wouldn't be surprised if Inbound's pick gets prioritied. But more importantly, I think that the same could be said for both of these teams too. I'm surprised at the fact that we haven't really seen as much Odin debuts. And I almost feel as though with the Medusa now being locked in, same for the Morrigan, there is a strong possibility that I think he might start to surface again just for the purpose of that lockdown in the ultimate.
Absolutely. And Odin, you know, for a lot of Season 8, have been at the forefront of our minds. Haven't seen him quite as much here as of late. I agree with you there, Taco. Certainly interesting. How about this, though, Hazer, for Baronic? Paul won the Smite World Championship last year on this Morgan pick. You're going to give it over to Baranik. Do you think Morgan and Baranik, that's some synergy there? You think this is the style of pick that Baranik can look good on?
Definitely. I think Baranik, the way he's playing, I wouldn't be adverse to him playing anything, honestly.
Sure.
He's been playing so well individually. Morrigan, a god, who you do play fairly safe on. He's done really well playing back and staying safe, but on the Morrigan, different to kind of Morgan Le Fay, you can look for these flanks and you can look to be the initiator for your team. I want to see Baranik play really confident on this pick. A couple good transformations for him already. Those Cirquet, Camazots, even Fenrir, pretty good for the Morgan to transform into.
Baranik has died 3 times in 6 games, to give you an idea of how well this guy's playing. Even in the last game, 0-0-9 on Morgan Le Fay, and a loss to the Tartarus Titans, still undying. And so it looks like, barring a pivot here, if Taco, your idea is correct, that it will be Cirquet back for inbound. There were some good engages earlier in that game. Fell off a bit later on down the stretch. Camazots for Layers has been a pinnacle of this Tartarus Titans team and the way that they have played. Layers has loved this Camazots pick, has played it in 3 of the last 6 games that the Tartarus Titans have played. How do you answer a pick like a Camazots?
Well, Solar Scarabs, they have the Circuit, so the anti-heal will be nice, but I think more importantly, they definitely need some strong front-lining assets here. That was the one thing that really caught them off guard, was that Tiamat damage overall.
Yeah, you're right.
Paul was just absolutely shredding through Solo or Troll at about, entering that mid to late game area. So I think, if anything, the Solar Scarabs, they can't really get too caught up in just trying to have all of this assassin control surrounding the Morrigan. Maybe a Xingtian could be a strong asset here for the Solar Scarabs, because the god has a lot of mobility to get away from the Camazots and Fenrir, and a lot of chase potential for this Tiamat.
That's true. There is chase down. And the Solar Scarabs are going to run back the Medusa as well. Stewart has shown flashes on this pick. Was handed a lot of pressure in game number 2 on the Medusa. Naja Hazer, you're rubbing your hands here. Is that a good sign, a bad sign, or somewhere in between?
I think Naja's bad. I have to say I think Naja's bad, but Scream is pretty good. He's pretty good at this pick. He made it work in the Phase 3 playoffs, the World Play-Ins, rather. Played it excellently, made it so that it got banned against them. Even in the first game of this set, it got banned against them. So there is some fear there for the Titans. Not great targets in my eyes right now for the Naja, though. Who's he picking up here? It's going to be tough for him to grab it.
Taco, every once in a while, you're just on it. And this is one of those death segments. Odin and Charybdis to follow up. I'm not sure any of us predicted the Charybdis. Let's start with the Odin, though. Is this still the type of scenario you predicted, you thought an Odin might fit in the first few picks that the Solar Scarabs had locked in?
I mean,
does Naja change that at all?
The look on Hazer and I's faces, man, it's just Naja into an Odin at that. Same thing for Medusa, same thing for Morrigan, because at the best case scenario, Morrigan is going to escape, but at what cost? She might have to expend her ultimate preemptively. I think there's just so much force out potential right now on the Tartarus Titans to kind of hinder this Solar Scarabs initiation. And the Scarabs, they don't really seem to be all that deterred by that cage. Taking a Guan Yu into it, that is a bold statement choice here for SOT.
You've got the Naja, so you know you're going to be struggling a little bit. You've got the Morrigan as well. Not easy to get out of there. And then they lock the Guan Yu into the Odin. I mean, it's something that was actually banned out yesterday against the Scarabs, so we haven't gotten to see this, but it does feel like a very niche style. I mean, the healing is there, that's always nice, but what else does he bring into this draft?
It's just survivability. It's the ability to actually put pressure on a backline over a long period of time instead of just in short bursts. His cooldowns come back so quickly that it's very, very hard to keep him out of a fight. And against someone like Charybdis, who can buy herself a lot of time, I like it.
She's been doing pretty well. I know the most recent cinematic says a little girl with knives is no match for a god. We'll see if Cyclone Spin is going to be standing up to that. Inbound, it's been hovering a little closer to half health than full for a majority of this. And this Fenrir is back, immediately gets aggressive. That's something that you were highlighting and really, really praising last time, is this Fenrir for Aurora. It took a few minutes before it started really being the stride and the win factor for the team, but now he's had the full game under his belt. He must be feeling confident.
It has to be. I think that he was really the difference maker there in that game too. All of the Titans played really well. Benji really stepped up, and I think the adjustment that he made from game 1 to game 2 is one that very few solo laners would be capable of making in such a short period of time. Layers really found his flow in the later stages as well.
Scream starting to show face over here on the left-hand side. Not going to decide to get aggressive. Instead goes back for the Oracle Harpy. So something that could have happened. He's going to end up being a little more patient. He starts rotating back over. But But he's going to meet face with Aurora in the jungle. They at least spot him out. And this is where things get awkward. You've got 3 assassins hanging out on this side of the map. Camazot's nowhere to be found, or else he could up the number. Cyclone Spin's going to get a little aggressive as well, but no fights breaking through. And it's these junglers aggro. Scream, specifically on Nasha, a good sash, despite the fact that it can be pretty easily beadsed out, is something that can set up a lot of kills. But also this Camazot's. I mean, it helped get that first blood in game 1. And it's something that Layers loves.
It's very, very strong in his hands. And remember, he got off to a 2-0-1 start in that game, and then the game went underwater a little bit for the Tartarus Titans. But, still like him trying his hand at it. I think that it does give Baronic another excellent transformation. He already had one anyways with the Circuit, so it's not like you're giving him his only great one. But in particular, of course, this Camazotz is going to feel really, really good as a transformation target for this Morrigan pickup.
And I was going to say, let's talk about Odin transformations, because that's something we see a lot whenever they're both in the game. We might have to hold that thought, though. Layers, a little bit of damage. He's going to be fine, though, so we can go right back into it. And immediately I look over and I'm like, oh, well, leap, 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 leap. Yeah, never mind. You don't want to transform into the Odin here. It's not going to work out well for you. But you might be able to get something done with the Circuit. There's the dash forward from Stuart. You've got the immunity coming down. A great stun from Aurora. And that peels to help make sure Cyclone Spin stays alive.
I mean, they don't use anything off that blink in from inbound. No beads, no shell, or shell was down for Aurora. But that's a confidence builder at the very least there for the Solar Scarabs. No buff up in order to invade off the pressure either. But anytime you're hitting that 2-man Cobra's Kiss, that feels like one of the most satisfying things you can do in Smite, and inbound made it look easy right there.
You've got to be careful. I see Layers right now in the jungle. Might not be looking for too much. It seems like the Scarabs are going to be playing it safe either way. But that's the real threat, right? Inbound can hit a 2-man taunt at any given time, and if that cooldown is not there for Cyclone Spin, it's an easy kill for them. But the same thing can be said for the Fenrir's. He can get a 2-man stun, the same thing's going to happen. And so far, it's been patience for them. Layers still over here. They're just too close to the tower line.
Yeah, level 5 for him, but look at this. Gank on the right-hand side. Looks like it's going to be strong. That's an ultimate from Scream, an ultimate from Benji, and from Solar Patrol, and Benji cages and leaves. And there's nothing the Scarabs can do about it. That lane is ungankable unless Solar Patrol really gets Benji within kill threshold of Windfire Wheels.
The good news is, though, they burned his ult, which admittedly for Odin it comes back relatively quickly, so they're going to be feeling that soon. But the meditation is gone.
Yep.
And that might open up some conversations. Conversation right now is about the red buff. Not going to be there for the Titans. They're going to go ahead and back off. It looked like they wanted to be aggressive. Baronic should be able to pick that up. Purple buff there for Stuart. So no invades there on the side of the Titans.
Yeah, surprised the Titans don't go for that red buff invade
in game 2. Honestly, it didn't even do that bad in game 1. Just wasn't able to provide the damage necessary. And Paul has been going for something very similar every single time. This Chronos Pendant into the breastplate. You mentioned how it's one of his favorite items. Into the Ethereal Staff usually after that. And it doesn't seem like he's deviating from that path. Whereas Baronic, I mean, we talk about what Morrigan does. It feels like another assassin sometimes with the way they can be played. He's got that Doom Orb online.
Whoa.
And this might be a turnaround. There's going to be the beads, and then up into the air goes Aurora. Scream is going to be landing with his team surrounding him, but Aurora just leaps on out of there. A good petrify from Stuart, but not enough damage for the kill, and now inbound is left to the Wolves. First blood, 9 minutes in, goes to the Titans.
A massive mechanical misplay there from the Scarabs. If you're going to commit that much onto the Fenrir, you have got to commit onto the Fenrir. Inbound has got to be able to keep that CC chain going. He cannot. Aurora ends up leaping away. It was a massive stun from Paul as they kind of grouped up underneath and were just waiting for him. They decide to group up a little bit too much and they don't get the CC chain, and as soon as that happens, it should have been over. But that leap back, that ambush in from inbound to try and keep it going was the real cardinal sin in that moment. The rest of them, not a big deal. We overcommitted, we didn't get the kill. Oh well, that stinks. That's what sealed the deal there for inbound.
Unfortunate for them. That is now the third first blood in a row that has gone the way of the Titans.
Yep.
We'll see if that success rate goes up with them. It's already pushing around 1,000 gold. Again, this round last time, 12 minutes in, it was 1,000 gold, so it's not the end of the world for the Scarabs. We actually started seeing them fight back a lot more. In fact, they're even going to go for the Pyromancer here. Just spawned in. It's an easy objective to 50-50. They're going to go ahead and leash it, though. Titans showing face on this side of the map, inbound. looks like he wants to fight. He really wants to find someone, but no one's going to be here. Benji instead is the target. Not a lot of mana to work with, and up into the sky goes Scream one more time, landing with the Guan Yu. There's the shred, there's the cage, and that should be the disengage for Benji, but he's got layers, he's got a roar. They're not going to try to turn this fight around. Instead, they're just going to back out.
Yeah, Scream so far 0 for 3 on getting kills on targets that he's hit that ultimate on, but you know, it hasn't been a problem for him. He hasn't overcommitted for any of these plays. He just has not worked out.
Well, finally, Inbound gets a good taunt. Aurora leaps out, but the chase is on. Solar Troll up into the ult, and one more hit secures it. That's going to be the first kill for the Scarabs in Game 3, and Inbound trying to stay alive. Eats too much from Paul, and it's a 1-for-1.
Ends up being support for support. No Pyromancer dropped. Thought that Scream might be on it, but he had to back up. I mean, Aurora for Inbound a little bit ahead, so you know you get a little bit more of a bounty theoretically for him, but it also means that Aurora can't farm to catch up to the rest of the squad. It's pretty much a wash in that moment, but again, they keep winning on these tanks. Stu goes for the 1v1?
Yeah, Cyclone has to use his immunity to stay alive. Ult is there. If he can connect this, it'd be a good stun. Layers is in the neighborhood and sees where Stewart is. Not going to connect from Cyclone Spin. The Maw just short, but that's going to be a great amount of damage. Layers goes there, Stewart just does it to him and gets the kill.
What a move by Stu! The little back step, see you later, and then gets the kill on the back end. This is the rookie stepping up here in this White World Championship semifinals. Unbelievable play. I mean, who tries to solo Cyclone Spin at their purple in this situation? And then he didn't even know Layers was there, I don't think. And still schmoves on him in order to get the help to get the kill. Unreal play from Stewart.
But it has come in handy a little bit for Zap, and realistically it comes in handy here. Just having that movement penalty feels so much better here.
I mean, he schmoves on him. He doesn't see him right here.
Hey.
No, thank you. I would not like that. And yeah, I'll commit the whole burst to killing him. And Boronic being there, obviously key. No way he gets that kill without him.
Not at all. So helpful for Boronic, 0-0-2. And he has been having a pretty good set. Ultimately, end of last game ends up getting away from them a little bit in terms of the KDA. But otherwise, Boronic has been playing out of his mind this week, and Stewart is starting to step up and match, maybe even surpass what we've seen in those regards. But it is still currently a Titans game. That is where things slip up. Great plays from the Scarabs in a couple of minutes, but it is almost 2,000 gold that the Titans have managed to afford themselves. Their lead gold just a little more with that objective going into their favor. Experience is just such a wonky graph to look at, so I'll keep my eyes on the gold right now. 2,300, and that's a good number to start with. And they're starting to make a feint over towards the Gold Fury pit. And they've got good positioning.
They do. They're the first ones here, and good ward coverage for them. Not a lot of wards here for the Solar Scarabs. They don't have any info on how healthy or not healthy this Gold Fury is going to be.
Oracle Harpies just about to respawn, but the Gold Fury's already half. You got to act now if you're going to act at all. And Solar Troll's on the horse. He's going in, and he's going to find a stun, a 3-man stun, and that's going to be great damage, but they're getting low on the Scarabs. SOT goes down, Inbound in the backline goes away, so it's a 2-for-1 with a roar falling down on the Titans, but Paul picks up Stewart. Scream is getting chased down, and they're going to kill 4 of the Scarabs and then take the Gold Fury to boot. Now Boronic, it gets revealed. He has to run away. This could be a full-on deicide.
Boronic holds on to the relics. It is a deicide for the Tartarus Titans. Aurora for Gold Fury, plus the deicide, plus potentially a Fire Giant if the Titans head right over there, is exactly what the Titans wanted. The Scarabs try and go in on this fight, but the positional advantage is just too good for the Titans. Aurora does such a good job of making sure that the Scarabs backline has to focus him first. They can't follow up on what Solar Troll is doing. And Paul and Cyclone just spread out on that Guan Yu ult to make sure that he's not going to be able to get good value. Still gets a good stun on the back end, but it wasn't enough follow-up damage. Boronic transforms into this Odin. That's not
all 5 still have Fire Giant. There's 2 towers. Let's make that 1 tower still standing for the Scarabs. Titans have exposed exactly what they want. Left side Phoenix and mid Phoenix. And mid has a hefty wave. Tiamat minions plus the minions themselves are getting aggressive. It's Vinci and Paul this time who are going to get a little bit of damage thrown that way. Inbound still level 12, not too far behind Aurora, with a massive gap between that and the level 19 that Paul is. You can feel that damage whenever he shows face.
And you can feel the damage, and you can feel the lack thereof of the Solar Scarabs.
Right now, Aurora goes deep. He's looking for somebody. He forces inbound to dash forward, but Solar Troll goes in. Two-man stun. Cyclone Spin in the maw and is able to isolate and lock down Solar Troll one more time. A good kill. And now the cage has been dropped. Veronic gets out of there, but Scream can't do the same. The Phoenix is the target, and the Phoenix goes down. The Titans are going to fall back over to mid.
They're going to be able to get this mid Phoenix with ease, I think. I mean, no wave coming for a second, but they've got Tiamat minions, they've got frontline to boot. They've got it all right now.
They've got a 3v5 in their favor, but low health bars. They're going to leave the Phoenix here just under half health. The Scarabs start to rally around their carries as much as they can. Stuart, Veronic have a lot to go for them. The minions are here, and the Phoenix is getting targeted. Finally, the Titans should be able to knock this one down. Inbound still wants a little bit more. The bird is gone. It seems like the Titans are going to disappear from this portion of the map as well.
Man, this game has just been clinical from the Tartarus Titans. This is the Titans that we typically saw at the end of the year, and that's why they've been the consistent favorites coming into this set, in this World Championship in general, is that they just, once they gain control, they feel completely unstoppable. Benji has just looked completely untouchable in this game. I mean, this Odin pick has looked so good. The Scarabs just have to respect this initiation from Aurora so much. I mean, look at how much space he created on that left side Phoenix, forced Stuart's ultimate, and it only hit Aurora for a tiny bit of damage, not nearly enough to really threaten.
Benji, cage dropped, and defense this time, and it's going to get him out of there, so he's not worried about it. Tower, all of them are still up here for the Titans. So for the Scarabs right now, you're starting to look towards win conditions. Not only are you defending against fire minions, and soon enough, in about a minute, having to defend against another fire giant, you're still worried about knocking down towers even if you win a fight. It is not a comfy position to be in.
No, I mean, I think the Scarabs need to basically deicide the Titans like two to three times from this position to realistically win this game. And that's without losing significant casualties on your side. That is not the position you want to be in up against this squad. I mean, the Titans have gotten their two best Phoenixes to grab because these are the two furthest away from the Fire Giant, which makes it that much harder for the Scarabs to defend the objective and their base simultaneously. I wonder if the Scarabs feel like this is their best shot, is fighting at Fire. Maybe they're right. I mean, we're talking single-digit percentage points from either position.
They pushed up left a little bit, but you can see how aggressive those minions already are. So that is a huge danger point for them. Mid is safe for now. They're going to show face around here. Fire Giant started up by the Titans, inbound, stunned, and locked up. But he's going to be able to get out of there. Serket mobility paying off in dividends. There's an Odin cage. It locks down Solar Troll. Doesn't have to use the Phantom. Fire Giant, half health. Cyclone Spin and Layers are doing it all. But here comes SOT. Here comes inbound. And they're looking for a little more. But SOT, he's too low. He gets forced out. He gets killed off. Same thing goes for inbound. The other three Scarabs trying to get something done. Scream gets a stun, but he is just surrounded at this point, and nothing he can do. Veronic tries to get something. They do get the Fire Giant?
I think they still lose,
but they lose the game.
Yeah, they lose the game. They got the objective, but it's going to cost them everything. Insert Thanos meme here. The Solar Scarabs did their best on that fight. I don't hate the call, but the front line from the Scarabs just couldn't do anything in this game. They were just completely outmatched on the front line. Benji and Aurora doing too much work.
Yeah, killing the Titan here, it's more just a formality for the Titans. They have won this game. They are up 2-1 now. One win away from getting to the finals here in the World Championship. A huge deal for them.
Appropriately to really act off of it.
How about this, Hazer? Game 1, World Championship Paul, a little MIA. Game 2 shows up. Maybe the best performance of the set so far here for Paul.
Yeah, he's going for this kind of slow burn build as well, getting that breastplate online earlier on in his build and still able to have so much impact on this Tiamat. He's doing great work there. I do feel like that game the Solar Scarabs almost defeated themselves with their draft. It was like they drafted without looking at the other side of the screen to see what the Titans were grabbing. They went for that triple shred with the 4 Fizz and just did not work out at all.
Najab, I think, met maybe expectations.
Thank goodness.
we weren't sure where the Najab would be. Still wondering where the Najab was after Game 3 comes to a close here. Look, Paul going on a rampage here in this game, going to be very difficult to turn that around. Layers puts in a good performance on this Camazotz. And I think even outside of layers, outside of Paul here in this game, Taco, Cyclone Spin on the Charybdis, played that laning phase so well, and by the time the late game rolled around, Cyclone Spin as well was very, very difficult to tack down.
Charybdis is a prime example of a high skill ceiling type of ADC, and I think it's also just a smart pickup given the fact that she has a lot of survivability. Cyclone's been so heavily focused throughout the duration of this set so far, and I would imagine more or less a lot of the pressure is going to keep being sent his way, so Charybdis can kind of more or less do the same things as Amus and Cobb, just have a lot more survivability behind it, and that immunity, the CC immunity, importantly, in that ultimate. We saw some really nice setup potential out of that Charybdis, especially when combined alongside a Benji and layers.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, this is, 108 is not the Hunter KDA that you love to see, but when you compare to how it looked for game 1, Cyclone Spin goes 0-3 in game 1, goes 2-4 in game number 2. Now in game 3 improves to 1-0, 8 assists, gets some damage rolling later on in the game, but Paul really the standout as far as damage numbers go here throughout this game. Roar, Benji, they all step up now for the Tartarus Titans. So it's backs against the wall. It's kind of a cliche, but it is the case here, Hazer. You wonder where the mentality of the Solar Scarabs lies moving
just
into
look to play the Smite that they've been playing. I don't want to see a huge switch up. We could see like Hades solo or something out of Solo Patrol.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm personally hoping they keep to what is in the meta and what's strong for them. But it looks like they've stuck to second pick side.
Yeah, you're right. They are on second pick here. The Odin picks and the Medusa picks have been very popular for the Solar Scarabs when those two have fallen to them here. Odin was an adjustment that the Tartarus Titan, or Osiris rather is the word I'm looking for. Osiris was the adjustment that the Tartarus Titans made, and the Odin pick for Benji looked pretty good there in game number 3. Hell and Erlang Shen, they've been banned out all set long, and the Osiris will continue to get banned away. So Taco, now we're 4 games in, four first phases of bans in to this best of 5 set, and we've seen very minimal adjustments in the first wave. But a reaction out of the Camazotz ban.
It's just the fact that Paul, he first picked the Tiamat in the last game.
Were you hoping to see a Tiamat?
I was hoping to see a Tiamat ban. Just Solar Scarabs just force him onto something different. And the thing is this is where we kind of start to have the conversation of teams that learn to adjust throughout a set. This is my biggest fear for the Scarabs, is that they are a team that I think has so much potential, but can kind of get a little bit caught up in some short-sightedness. And it's not even so much, the thought of, oh, we can handle the Tiamat, we just got to do this and this instead. It's realistically, you just don't want to let a player that's hot continue to stay on a pick for free.
This is not, I'm looking back at all 3 games, the drafts for all 3 games, the KDAs, the results from all 3 games, 3 games up to this point. Paul leaves game 3 with a 626 GPM, which is like 30 higher than any other player has had at any point throughout this set in general from game number 3. So the Tiamat, needless to say, had an incredible game for the Tartarus Titans in game 3. Chance to do so here again in game number 4. Titans will run back the Achilles and the Fenrir. Hazer, is that a combo you're excited to see here for the Titans?
Yeah, they might go back towards the style we saw for them previously, where they were just trying to kill frontline. They put that Achilles in the jungle. I think this is probably a flex. They can put that into solo as well if they want to. Fenrir bite into damage from Tiamat, whichever Hunter Cyclone decides to pick up into the execute from Achilles will probably be the strategy they're looking for.
Taco, Medusa, talk to me about it. We've seen Medusa 3 games in a row now for Stuart. This will be the 4th game in a row. Great 3-0-7 in the game 1 win. Undying in the game 2 loss. Bit of a non-factor in the game 3 loss. The desire to continue playing this Medusa, you think it has its place?
Well, the only issue for Stuart that I've really noticed is that once it departs the laning phase period, Medusa's primary struggle is just finding her positioning in a team fight, because she is so vulnerable no matter where she's at on the map. She's a relatively easy guy to kill, especially when you're looking at the likes of a Tiamat, Achilles, and Fenrir, especially brutalized, being able to follow her through that lacerate if she tries to look for the escape. And the other thing is this Yamoja pick. It worked out so great for the Scarabs, I think, in their initial game 1, purely because of the fact that they had such an easy setup factor against that Amus and Cobb. But now that the Titans can see that this Yamoja is clearly going to be making a debut again, I think it just makes it all the easier for Cyclone to try and opt for a Hunter that has a strong escape potential.
Yeah, game 1, it was, you're right, the AMC for Cyclone Spin. But I think the Umoja pick specifically is what you were talking about there, Hazer. Let's get back to a brand of Smite that worked for us so far in this set. Umoja Medusa was a duo lane that's already worked for the Solar Scarabs. Pairing it with the Hunbats is what they did in Game 1, the Solar Scarabs. They're going to do it again here. Moving into game number 4, the second wave of bans start to roll through. Morgan and Morgan, luckily we don't have to deal with that one much longer, both banned out by the Tartarus Titans. And then a Hunter mindset ban phase for the Solar Scarabs. Any Hunters jump out at you here, Hazer, that you would like to see Cyclone Spin move to with the remainder of these picks and bans?
I'm honestly not sure. Taking away the Charybdis and the Heim is nice. Maybe he could go towards that Izanami to try and equalize the pressure. Also has the leap to get away from the Umoja, but can be vulnerable to the Hunbats. He will be looking for something with a leap here, almost certainly. Odin locked in should confirm that. Cyclone Spin needs a way out the cage, needs a way out the Umoja as well. As we see the Awelish come through. Sam for Soccer was piloting that one previously, right. And the Scarabs didn't have too many problems with it, really.
No, Taco, Awelix picked. You think outside of even just play around the Odin, you think there's good opportunity for Awelix to find some value in this game?
I actually really like Layers whenever he runs down this Awelish pick. This is something that has also stemmed way back to even his console days. So to see him rocking the Awelish here now, I think there's a lot of consistent setup just because the Umoja, one of her primary forms of peeling the team, is Riptide. And Awelish playing into that Riptide, Solar Scarabs are going to have to be a little bit more cognizant of where this Awelish is at before they look for those kinds of initiations or escapes. But I also really like this Izanami, not even just for the escape purposes, but she has a lot of shred potential through the Odin ring itself. So I don't think that the Odin is nearly as problematic. And if this is a Giannis lock-in for the Scarabs, I have some concerns in terms of the follow-up, because that was the one thing that I think hurt the Scarabs in the last game when they tried to utilize those Morgan transformations into Odin for themselves. They just didn't really have anything that really fell into place there in the center of the cage.
Yeah, I wonder where Baronic goes here, because it's been Tiamat, Morgan Le Fay, AMC, the Morgan. I mean, not on the mind. All of those, but or only the AMC available from that list that I mentioned there. Do you go back to the phase 1 of season 8?
There it is.
Giannis was it. It was all the rage. And it is the potential final game of the year for the Solar Scarabs. You've got to win 2 straight to move on to the Smite World Championship Finals. If you lose here, you go home. Your season is done. And
loving picking Giannis in this current meta. You know, flat pen isn't very good. Rushing CDR is okay, but you know, not as prevalent all the time. It kind of has been in this little mini meta of this set. So, you know, it could be worse, I suppose. I'd expect a lot of CDR from him. But at the end of the day, man, if you're accurate enough, you know, if you hit enough snipes, it can work. And Baronic, historically, has hit enough snipes in order to make it work. I know it's going to be exciting, and that's all that matters to me.
That's the thing that went through my head. I saw it locked in, and I could hear what a crowd would sound like with that pick getting locked in, right? Like, it's just something with the, especially in the cob, like so the sick thunk whenever things, it would have been phenomenal. I still expect some phenomenal things out of it. This is the do-or-die moment for the Scarabs.
Damn, dude, now I'm thinking about it, too. You know, it would have been the voice line, like, when one door opens, another door closes, or, you know, whatever it is, and then the
good
whole
luck
crowd
hearing the desk
nuts.
over that.
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
Either way, this is a huge deal. Again, when you look at the Scarabs, I mentioned this at the end of the last game, but they are this team that, realistically, even when they're down, and, like, you can tell they're, like, a little disheartened, but they're never really out of it, right? They view it as the next game, as the next opportunity, and they keep a good mentality. But there is a lot of pressure on this. Win, and you can at least prolong your stay in the World Championship. If you lose, the Titans go to the finals, and your year is done. Granted, a hell of a year nonetheless for the Scarabs.
Also,
this is definitely a lot of weight. Scream. We've seen more focus on this solo lane at the beginning of each game than I think anywhere else. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be the Achilles just yet.
No, it can't really ganks the duo lane because Izanami is just such instant pressure. I mean, No God outclears her. She can just sit here and be really, really strong. We saw Aurora kind of rotate around and run around a little bit, and it just didn't matter because it's Izanami and can't really go too aggressively. Scream still here on the right-hand side, but just a level 3 Achilles even is too much for the Hunbats to take down. And the Scarabs, you know, I don't think that their composition really, I was saying game 1, they're all gas, no brakes, put the pedal to the metal. they haven't really drafted that way these last 2 games in particular. And I don't think they have in this game because they just need to be able to get to the point where this Odin Cage is going to be impactful, where this AoE from the Yamoja and the Hunbats can be impactful, and Stewart there as well. Their target selection is going to be key, and they're going to need damage from Baronic. I mean, you think about these last games that they've looked really good, game 1 in particular, that Morgan Le Fay doing a lot of player damage in the midst of those team fights was critical. Didn't need to have that same type of impact on the Giannis, which is hard.
Already, I'm keeping my eye out on the builds because it has been very similar for Paul the entire time, and now the duo lane, solo lane, I should say. Benji is going to be 1 smash away from getting taken down. First blood for Scream, and that's the first time this set they've been able to pull that their way.
That is huge to get a lead over here for SOT because he was unstoppable game 1. Level plus a little bit since he's level 8, Benji just level 6. Benji, I assume, will hit 7 off this wave, but Solar Troll's in a very commanding position over here. Scream down about a half a level because of his insistence on trying to get that gank to work, but I think that was well worth his time.
Layers caught out in the jungle. Solar Troll doesn't connect on the stun. It's going to back off right there. Scream is waiting, though, and has maybe a target in mind. Solar Troll is still playing aggressively, and they are zoning out Paul in this instance. Inbound maybe gets the memo a little bit too late. No, they're just going for Benji at this point. They're going to lock him down in the Odin Cage. A beautiful grab, and then the Fear No Evil on top of that. That should be another kill, but there's going to be a great stun from Aurora. The stun just off the mark, and Benji gets on out of there. Now the River's Rebuke locks him down. Scream is the one who gets eliminated this time. Aurora and Paul and the Layers keep surging forward, and they're looking for more damage. Baronic portals on out of there. Inbound gets the Riptide and gets the disengage, but Solar Troll stunned up, knocked up, and taken down.
What a play from Aurora. Are you kidding me? I mean, Benji is 1 auto from death. Aurora jumps in, double stun, slams the meditation, and then that med healing gets him out of range from an insane snipe from Baronic that actually did hit Benji, but it just doesn't matter because that healing was good enough. What a play coming from Aurora and from Benji. A double kill for Aurora and well-deserved for him. Paul makes it happen on that rotation. Layers is right on time, has a good ultimate to pull inbound back in. I mean, that play was so close, doing well for the Solar Scarabs. And then this door just gets slammed shut. I cannot believe this stun, man. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. That is absolutely crazy. It's so crazy we couldn't show it to you a second time. It was
legally not allowed.
Yeah,
actually. We had to censor that.
Yeah, it was nasty, man. Roar in such a good position now because Fenrir is this type of pick that if he's even with you as a backliner 9 minutes into the game, he's going to do more damage than you. He's got more mobility than you, and he's got more CC than you. And what are you supposed to do against that?
Now Scream picked up, no mana. Oh, there's actually backup here. I didn't think Aurora had anybody, but Cyclone shows up in time. Instead, it's 3 for the Fenrir. It seems like he wants to get on out of here. Good Riptides from inbound. Keep him engaged, and of course get inbound out of there. But it is going to be the reset from the Scarabs. They lose 1. They're about to lose 2. Baronic caught out. Can't portal from that one.
He even used the beads right there, and you saw him be pretty upset that he got knocked up. Just good reaction from Layers. Blinks in. Gets him with that Moonlit Charge knockup, and it's starting to happen now for the Tartarus Titans. They get a couple of kills, they get a couple of buff invades, and that machine is humming right around now. Right to the Gold Fury they go.
This is a good call. I mean, look at the Scarabs. They're scattered to the wind. There's no one here to try and defend it. Stewart looked like he might start walking this way. He just wanted the purple buff. There's nothing they can do about it. Now the Tartarus Titans will go from down by 1,000 to up by a hefty chunk. 1,500 gold, approaching 2,000. Yeah, comfortably in the lead is the way I would describe them. And you start to see it manifest now in the experience as well. There's still technically a level lead there, maybe half a level for Solar Troll. This Pyromancer is a good way to equalize and right the ship, but you're going to need a lot more for the Scarabs to keep this on track.
I mean, just think about what just happened in Solar Scarabs. They went from getting another kill on Benji and keeping this ball rolling against Solar Troll to then having a Roar 1v3 jump up down on them, and it works.
They get the Odin Cage. Benji's locked down one more time. Fear No Evil's good. There's no one to save him here, but they have Layers. There's a good River's Rebuke. That's going to keep him locked in there. He turns it around. He's looking for more damage, but he does get put down. Scream might lose his life. What a great portal from Baronic. That gets him on out of there. Scream narrowly avoids it. No, Paul chases him down. Solo Troll killed on the backside. It's 2 for 1, and they're going to make it 3. Aurora is chasing down Veronic. They pick up one more. Now inbound is just ripe for the picking, and it's a huge swing for the Titans.
Another 4 for 1 for the Tartarus Titans, and just when you thought you may have had enough time in the tank in order to beat the Tartarus Titans, Aurora and the boys slam the door closed. Another 4 for 1 in their favor, and it's just dominance from this team in these team fights. Aurora is doing so much work.
Yeah.
He's 4-0-3, for God's sake. In 11 minutes, demands a support. He's not supposed to be able to do that to you. He's tied for the highest level on the Solar Scarabs right now, and he's supposed to be getting the least amount of farm on his team.
Pull attention way over here.
Yeah, come
you guys
over
have
here,
to
come
chase
over
it,
this way, right.
collapse into where? Who's waiting? It's Paul. And it's just so clean for them. Again, he's 2-0-2, kind of overshadowed right now by what Aurora has been able to accomplish. Oh, this Titan squad, this is why everyone was worried about them coming into this World Championship. Now they've got 4,000 gold, just about, a little shy of that 4K gold mark. And that is a hefty lead. 12 minutes in, you are feeling very, very confident about it. And that's the thing that I think I'm looking forward to the most, is just seeing how this team can continue this onslaught, but even more so, the Scarabs with backs against the wall, what they can do here.
I mean, they've got to try and find something.
This isn't
Solar
it.
Troll. Where is he supposed to go? I like him using the cage, but he can never leap, or else he just gets pulled.
Yeah, that's going to be...
portal.
Oh, great snipe, and it hits layers as well. He has to fall back. Solar
What?
Troll
Straight
is
to
out of there,
genius.
and they're going to keep going.
No!
The teleport puts him in the wrong way. He goes to the minion wave, drops the ult as well. And unfortunate for Scream, Rivers Rebuke tries to lock him down, but there's a window for an extraction here for the Titans, but they don't want to extract. They're going back in. They lock down
no.
Scream. The inbound portal's out. Riptide's there. Devastating for the Solar Scarabs.
I don't think any, I'm not here to toot my own horn here, Gormizer, but I don't think any sentence has ever summed up Scream's playstyle as well as Scream's a genius, oh no, oh no, oh no. Like that is what Scream is gonna do a lot of the time. And most of the time it stays on he's a genius. The monkey toss onto the Totem of Coup, it would bounce. I mean, that was the monkey with the most spring I've ever seen in my life. That was the Ja Morant of monkeys. Like, my man went flying, and then all of a sudden, I thought he's gonna TP to layers, drop the ultimate, get just such a sick kill, and then it goes to Benji, and I'm thinking, okay, that's still good, but then he only TPs once it hits the minion, and then he still pressed the ultimate. Nearly absolute insanity goes to
Oni Fury is going to spawn up in 20 seconds. That could be a nice, again, equalizer. You need a little more than an equalizer, though, for the Scarabs. You're down 5,000 gold, and you're starting to feel the weight of every amount of it. I mean, you're starting to see item differences between these two teams. Solar Troll has been at the forefront of the victories for the Scarabs, and right now he's at the forefront for the defeats so far. There's going to be a good Fear No Evil. That peels and pulls Aurora back in. Aurora can't get out of here. That cage is clean, but they grab Solar Troll. They bring him back to the rest of the team. Layers, Benji waiting for him. They're going to pull back here. Paul's in the jungle. The Titans don't want this fight.
All right, we've trapped Aurora. Let's run away because my man's still 5-0-3, and we don't have a lot of options. Meanwhile, Stewart in trouble. Get his ultimate forced and nearly soloed. Good Aegis by Stewart, and he needed it because Cyclone Spin would have claimed that solo kill otherwise. How is it 0-0-0 over here for Stu? Cyclone 0-0-1, and Cyclone's up 3 levels. He's up 1,600 gold in net worth. I mean, this is clinical right now for Cyclones.
The glory of Aurora getting all this farm everywhere else on the map is that everything on the left-hand side has been left for Cyclone. Maybe it's the Gold Furies as well. Something's got to add up here, and they're starting to get themselves an Oni Fury inbound. Shows face, gets some damage out there, but isn't able to get the steal, and instead is forced to run away, extract himself, and keep himself safe. Scream low on mana. They get the red buff.
Look, all I'm saying, Gore, is that if the Titans don't try and pull fire until 30 minutes, Vinny's going to launch an investigation into what's going on over there. Because, I mean, that would be absolutely crazy. They can walk there and start it right around now. Cyclone doesn't have his crit finished, so the DPS isn't going to be huge on this objective, but he's already got a starter upgraded.
he is starting it up. The Fire Giant's taking a little bit of damage, pulled off. There's going to be the Odin Cage. Solar Troll gets on out of there. Good snipe from Baronic, but Baronic has to disengage. He needs to get out of here. So far, he's done so, staying alive. That's great for them. River's Rebuke, good peel, great Fear No Evil, isolates a Roar, but isn't enough there. Solar Troll leap over the wall. The Scarabs stay alive, but they invest so much to do so. They're probably going to lose this Fire Giant.
4 ultimates to deal maybe 1,200 damage total across the entirety of the Tartarus Titans. That is not going to be easy. Scream's got to make a hero play.
He's going to try. He sees it. There's the blink. He's in the pit. The Fire Giant, the DPS is stopped. He has to leap out to stay alive, and he does not have a lot of health to work with. One more hit is all it will take. Fire Giant goes to the Titans, and Scream gets killed after.
Yeah, it's just going to be easy cleanup there for Layers. The Tartarus Titans knocking on the door of the finals. You thought they might stumble, but not with the way they're playing. You're welcome for that, Caster's Curse. You can check that off the bingo board. We're going to count that one. Benji, a little bit off the mark with that Fatal Strike.
And you know what? Solar Troll, happy to live to see another day. Need him for this defense. 10-2 now. The Scarabs have not been able to find anything out of those, really those first couple of kills. They lose another tier 2. Looks like they'll finally get a tier 1 on left with this Phoenix on right is what is in charge and in sight for the Titans. They're trying to take it. Benji takes a lot of damage onto the bird. Falls back. The cage gets dropped by Solar Troll though, and that slows him down.
I mean, they don't even have a Phantom. They don't need it.
They don't care.
There's no threat of that cage, and there won't be threat for a long time. Probably fairly far away. Yeah, he's only got 900 gold in hand, so he's pretty far from that. Meanwhile, you look across the way, I mean, 4th items are not only completed for the Tartarus Titans and their back line, but they've also upgraded their starters. So they've spent an extra 1,500 gold on top of that.
There's a Fear No Evil. That's self-peel, that's self-preservation, and it might not even be enough Scream. Yeah, he's going to be able to make it out of there, but he loses the tier 2. This is a split push going on from the Scarabs, though. They get a little bit of damage on the tier 2. They know they have to back. It's a 3v5 trying to defend right now a mid-Phoenix. Now all grouped up, the Scarabs are here, but there's the execute just a little early. Benji doesn't get it on the inbound. Inbound gets a great River's Rebuke. They're trying to lock them down, and he's got
Layers
Benji,
low.
he's got Paul, they've got Layers, and there's the kill to open things up. The Scarabs find one, but can they get a little bit more? Paul's 2-save Aurora is locked down. Scream finally shuts him down. The 5-0 and 3 Fenrir is no more.
Cyclone Spin got that left side Phoenix, but at least the Scarabs won the 5-on-4. This mid Phoenix still alive for now, but Cyclone's on the way, and he's already put down
Solar
Sot.
Troll just gone. Now the Phoenix follows up. It looks like the Titans won a little bit more. They're in a 3v4 under the Titan room. They've got some minions, and they're going for the damage. They might want the end right here, right now. They have to play this carefully. Benji locks down inbound, but the damage isn't there. The Titan's too healthy. They're going to pull back.
They can't end. What are they thinking right there? I mean, they've got 3 members, no wave. Benji the only tank, ambitious to say the least from the Tartarus Titans, but at the end of the day, they get 2 Phoenixes. Cyclone wasn't there for that fight, and that's truthfully the only reason the Scarabs were able to win that skirmish. Starter, plus he's only level 19, so he won't be able to do that. I mean, you've got enough gold in hand for Bobby to start another tier of his item, or to get the next tier of his item, but not all the way finish it. You know, you're looking for enough for Moronic to finish his starter. He's 700 gold away from that. Just too much gold that needs to still happen here for the Solar Scarabs for them to be willing to defend that fire. So it's all in the name of trying to get Scream to level 20. But he's I don't even know, maybe he'll get it from these. Yeah, he will. He only needs 50 XP. Okay, so he does hit 20 on the way back, and I think he should have enough gold for an item and his starter upgrade.
They're going to go ahead and pick that up. Defending the Phoenixes, name of the game right now.
No,
both mid and left are okay. Right is where the Titans have their eyes, but look at where Layers is. Look at Benji. They are immediately going for the zone. They've got Scream and Baronic and Solar Troll pulled away from the Phoenix with the Minion Wave and Cyclone Spin. They should be able to engage right here.
Baronic going to try and find a big snipe. That's what they need to happen. Needs to find a home on the Cyclone Spin or Paul. Paul's been basically untouched.
Oh, wow, Solar Troll's the one who goes forward. Only cages Paul. Paul jumps out. Now Benji is surrounded by the team. But another stun from Aurora. He opens it up. River's Rebuke, Fear No Evil. Who cares right now? The Scarabs are not able to find the fight they want. Left side Phoenix has respawned. Right side Phoenix, it goes down. And the Titans are pushing them back into the base.
Baronic does have that snipe. That's the only ultimate still left here for the Solar Scarabs. and that might be their only tool at all as the mid Phoenix falls once again.
Titans take that one. Looks like left might be on the chopping block. They're trying to decide where they want to go. The Titan room is open, but they need a big win. Scream is aggressively forward. No ults, save for that snipe from Baronic. Solar Troll almost gets taken down, but he gets out of there just in time. Scream is getting chased away, and he has a 3rd HP, and he's going to be in the fountain, but it's not going to be enough. Cyclone finds the kill on the back foot, and now 4 versus 5. The Titan in trouble. The Titans marching forward and looking for the damage they need. The Titans half health, but they're going to pull back. They're looking for Baronic. They found the damage necessary. Him, Solar Troll, Stewart, and Inbound all getting taken down one by one. The Layers find their kills. The Titans find their win, and they're going to the finals.
The clock finally strikes midnight on the Cinderella story for the Solar Scarabs. The Tartarus Titans fell in game 1, and they didn't stumble the rest of the way. The favorites here in the tournament make it happen in the semifinals, and we'll be seeing them tomorrow in the grand finals.
And you have
They sure are. Taco, who are your keys to victory here for the Tartarus Titans? Again, a lot of it happening right here. I mean, this is what we saw time and time again. Who really stepped up in your mind for the Titans this game?
Truthfully, this was a roar in this final match down. He could not have made a more perfect play, and I think that this play was honestly the one that kind of set the tone for the rest of this match, because it just seemed as though the Solar Scarabs were never able to truly recover from it. Every single instance that seemed as though it was about to be a net positive for the Scarabs would just immediately pivot south, and I think my favorite example was honestly Aggro's ultimate caster's curse, where Scream gets all of 0.3 seconds of being a genius before the most unfortunate Sacred Monkey Toss I've ever witnessed, and definitely surprised at how far that monkey bounced in the first place.
Right? Yeah, he was right. That was one of the bounciest monkeys I've ever seen. It had to have been crossed off. There's no way that was the first caster's curse of the weekend. At any rate, if it's still on your bingo card, cross that one off. I think casters arguing with each other is another one of the squares on the bingo card, and Mifflin and I cast next. Is it not?
No.
Oh, it's not on there?
No, we're arguing.
Oh, we're arguing right now. Cross it off. No, if you haven't yet, Mifflin and I will be casting our next set, so a great chance at getting that one off your square. 5-1-8 for Aurora here in this game. Cyclone Spin deserves his highlights down the stretch there. And I think these damage numbers are going to tell us a lot. They will. 25,000 damage in a game here for Paul on the Tiamat. And Hazer, you know, both the Leviathans and the Kings were focusing on the semifinal before us, right? They've got to play one another. But either of those two teams, whoever wins, now we got to start worrying about Paul and his Tiamat going into tomorrow.
Very much so. I mean, he just looked irrepressible on that pick, unstoppable.
Well, and the final semifinal game to go: Camelot Kings versus the Atlantis Leviathans. And tomorrow, we will crown a champion. Tartarus Titans awaiting the winner of our second and final semifinal and our second and final matchup of the day. Camelot Kings versus the Atlantis Leviathans coming up next. Some early thoughts from you here on this one, Taco. Kings and Leviathans, there are plenty of storylines for, I think, all the players on both of those teams. I know a lot of fans would love to see a chance at a three-peat for either Zapman or Paul. What do you like here going into this next matchup, Kings and Leviathans?
It's definitely one where you kind of have two different factors weighing in. I mean, this would be